In hand-to-hand combat, UFC fighters are the most dangerous group of people to have ever existed. But fighting is bizarre. Someone can have zero experience, but all the confidence in the world. We've all heard of it, people saying jiu-jitsu won't work on them. When they see red, it's over, or they're 6'3", 260, so can't lose. And over the years, those kinds of people have tested themselves against UFC fighters, and in almost every case, it ends horribly. Knocked out in street fights, choked out in restaurants, or losing 4v1s. Some of these stories are now in UFC folklore, while others I'm sure you've never heard of. So these are the times when random strangers ended up fighting UFC fighters. First up, this 21-year-old who broke into a house just for it to be the home of UFC light heavyweight title challenger Anthony Smith. It was 4 a.m., and while asleep in his home with his wife and 3 daughters present, Anthony heard a guy screaming at the top of his lungs. Sound warning, the guy has one loud scream on him. Now, as MMA fighters go, Anthony Smith is a very nice guy. He didn't take that disqualification win against John Jones when he could have, is a great analyst, and speaks very, very well. And while he was concerned the intruder may have a weapon on him, Anthony had no choice but to go and fight.
He was only 15 or 20 feet max from me when I came out of the bedroom. So as soon as I came out, he just looked at me and kind of flexed and like it looked like he was trying to scare me and was coming my way. So I paused and kind of thought to myself, like, I don't know him. And you know, then just panic. It's like the most terrifying moment of your life.
But somehow, the guy was able to survive for a lot longer than you'd expect.
So I kind of just tucked my head, took him down, and then just tried to incapacitate him as fast as I could. And as the fight's happening, I'm realizing that he's young. You know, he's probably in his early 20s. Turns out he's 22 or 23. He's not very big. He's like 165 or 170 pounds, but he's super strong. Like I just was having a really hard time controlling him, trying to get a hold of his hands and you know, trying to knock him out to get him to stop, and he just never did.
You'd confidently assume someone with the experience of Anthony Smith could handle a regular person with ease, but it turns out the person inside his house was a semi-decent high school wrestler. Smith said if you factored in the fear he had, the strange toughness of this dude, it was one of the toughest fights of his life. And remember, this is a guy who went 5 rounds with John Jones, fought Shogun Rua, Alexander Gustafsson, and so many world-class fighters.
I am by no means the baddest dude on the planet. Listen, he's top 100. Out of all the humans on the planet, Anthony Smith is one of the top 100 baddest motherfuckers that's walking the earth. But he's a regular Joe, and I had a hard time dealing with him, and he took everything I gave him. Every punch, every knee, every elbow. He took every single one of them and kept fighting me.
The attacker was arrested and charged with first-degree trespassing, and it wasn't a targeted attack according to the police. Smith's office room was allegedly covered in blood, with the attacker having cuts and swelling on his face. I guess if you're going to decide to break into someone's house at 4 a.m., it's probably wise to make sure they're not a world-class UFC light heavyweight. And while Anthony Smith definitely didn't want a fight that evening, the same thing can't be said for former UFC fighter Mike Perry. As wild characters go in the UFC, Mike Perry is certainly someone you'd put near the top of that list. He's undefeated in bare-knuckle boxing, often surrounded in controversy, and is very short-tempered. Something an unfortunate older man discovered outside a restaurant in Texas back in 2020. Perry was at the restaurant with his then partner Latori Gomez. You remember, the one he had as his sole corner person for a couple of UFC fights? But in the restaurant, drinks were flowing, and according to the incident report, things got heated and Perry wanted to fight everyone present.
No, I'll stay here. Let's go. I'll stay here. What do you want?
Go, Mike. Here's your phone.
He allegedly slapped the manager of the restaurant, but it was outside where things got ugly. An older man then confronted the UFC fighter, who promptly knocked him out with a single punch.
I'm trying to calm you down, bro. You were hitting my damn
He touched me.
You were hitting my fucking phone.
So he touched me. He touched me. You can all lie to him if you want to.
You hit him. Mike's right. You hit him, bro. You hit him.
But y'all gonna tell the police that I fucking
You know the devil
motherfucker, you fat piece of shit. Hey, no. Hey! You have my picture, stupid fuck.
Perry was charged with Class A assault, yet blamed other people for instigating the drama. And it may not come as a surprise to you that this isn't the first time Perry has been involved in a street fight. 4 years prior, he knocked out a man outside a bar who allegedly tried to hit on his partner at the time and even punched Perry first. Alcohol is a wild thing. It'll literally give you the confidence to fight anyone, not realizing that with Mike Perry, you're seriously picking on the wrong person. And just like Mike Perry isn't the guy to mess with, Nate Diaz isn't either. It was after a Misfits boxing event back in 2023 where Nate Diaz was there supporting a teammate and clearly wanted some of the action of his own after the show. In the brief video footage we have, a brawl went down outside some bars when a guy approached Nate Diaz with his hands up, indicating he didn't want to fight. Well, if you knew Diaz, you would have known he wouldn't care one bit, because the third-degree black belt latched up a guillotine and choked the man unconscious in a matter of seconds.
Oh yeah, Logan.
But it turned out the guy had been with people who were trash-talking Nate Diaz's teammate while he was fighting, so of course Diaz wasn't going to let it go.
I walked out of this bar and the whole street was fighting. I didn't even know who was fighting. I was like, oh shit. It was late, it's 2 a.m. So I started running around to the other side of the street where I saw some of my other homies over there, and I started crossing the street. I'm looking, and then fake Logan Paul runs up in my face. Like, whoa. And I'm like, whoa, back the fuck up. And I grabbed him by his hands. Cause he's like, whoa, like, this fool's gonna hit me. He's like, I'm about to like back up. And he pushed into me. Fuck. And when he pushed into me, I had him in a headlock, and then the whole street was going crazy. Like, these fools are gonna fuck me up. So I choked his ass.
Then, just a few hours later at 7 a.m., Diaz turned himself in to the police. He was eventually released on a $10,000 bond, with his attorney claiming he was acting in self-defense. But the story was far from over there. It turns out the guy, who everyone coincidentally pointed out was a Logan Paul lookalike, actually was an amateur MMA fighter, albeit not a good one. According to ShareDog, he was 0-5 as an amateur, with his nickname being Not Logan Paul. And in the aftermath, he actually tried to sue Nate Diaz, claiming severe injuries to his head, neck, and brain.
And so I walked up to him, I was like, hey dude, calm down. Yeah, I would have bought him a drink, okay? I did not think that he walks up to me, grabs both of my hands. I'm like, oh dude, calm down. He grabs both my hands, tosses it down, throws a hook, lands on my jaw, pulls me down into a guillotine choke, but it's not like a basic guillotine choke. You know, your head's not right here, okay? His wrist was up tight, forcing the head into the solar plex, putting a deeper style choke, okay? Now, not only am I being choked out by Nate freaking Diaz, but I have 2 of Nate's friends. One of them's in the UFC, blast me in my ribs, okay? And by this point in time, I'm pretty sure I was already asleep. That choke was tight.
He also wanted to recover damages due to suffering mental anguish, loss of enjoyment of life, psychological distress, medical expenses, and lost income due to being unable to work.
I'm on the ground, the back of my head hits the street, I end up with 8 staples and a severe concussion. I am lucky to be alive.
Nate Diaz's representative literally replied LOL to the threat, and seemingly that was that. If you were an amateur MMA fighter, you'd hope that 1, your guillotine defense would be a little better, and 2, that you shouldn't walk up on Nate Diaz of all people. But unlike Nate Diaz, a lot of UFC fighters would let people off the hook, and one who fits into that category is Matt Serra. A lot of modern-day MMA fans may associate Matt Serra with being a coach first and foremost, but people forget just how good he was in his prime. He won the Ultimate Fighter, went on to upset GSP with a first-round knockout to win the welterweight title, and was truly one of the best grapplers in the UFC at the time. But at just 5'6" and constantly cracking jokes, it's probably fairly easy to underestimate Matt Serra. And unfortunately, that's what one drunk guy did in a restaurant in Las Vegas. The funniest part is, Matt Serra was being inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame the next evening. Yeah, you don't want to start a fight with a UFC Hall of Famer. It started when the guy started being aggressive and threatening the waiters.
Throwing shit at the waiters, and I go to my wife, I go, we gotta get the fuck out of here. I go, because I just know it's gonna get, if something goes near gets thrown in our direction, I just know I gotta get out of there, because it's not good. Sure enough, my waiter was bringing me my check, and the guy got up. He got up like this, so it just instinctively, I got up. And then he turned right to me.
So, after he threatened Matt Serra and took his top off, Serra decided enough was enough.
It's okay, calm down. I'm gonna break you. I'm gonna fuck you up. It's okay.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Calm down, it's all right. It's okay.
Dude, relax.
It's okay. Calm down.
Of course, the guy was still threatening to F up Serra, but there was quite literally a 0% chance of that happening.
Does he try to swing at you when he gets up?
No, now he's saying he wants to press charges. So what happened was
I'm gonna charge you with embarrassing him.
Serra ended up handing the guy over to security, and that was that. So if you ever need to prove that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu works, there is your proof. Up till now, the UFC fighters have always handled their business with ease. But this time, the UFC fighter actually lost. And it wasn't just any random fighter, but former lightweight and welterweight world champion BJ Penn. In his prime, BJ Penn was truly one of the greatest fighters the UFC had ever seen.
Well, BJ, when you were on top, you were one of the baddest motherfuckers on earth. You really were. You were a guy who went all the way up to heavyweight to fight Lyoto Machida. I mean, I remember that fight. Mm-hmm. I mean, you did some wild shit, dude, and you were strangling a lot of fucking people, man. Yeah. And for jiu-jitsu guys, like for all my jiu-jitsu guys, you were the fucking man, because you were a smaller guy who choked out Matt Hughes, you know, who was so fucking good at the time, man. And Matt Hughes was a tank. When you got his back and choked him, everybody's like, oh shit,
Jiu-jitsu's back.
A two-weight world champion, UFC Hall of Famer, pioneer of the lightweight division, and someone not afraid to take on anyone. But despite all his success, BJ Penn's UFC and MMA career ended horribly, over 8 years without a victory and 7 straight defeats in the octagon. But his most embarrassing loss didn't come in the UFC, it came on the streets of Hawaii. In 2019, videos surfaced of BJ Penn in an altercation with a guy outside a bar, with the UFC fighter asking to be hit, and the guy happily obliged.
Oh my god.
Stop it, guys.
Hey, come on.
Punch again.
Stop. Keep on. Why? Stop it.
I guess at this point in his career, BJ Penn's chin wasn't quite what it used to be. In the end, another clip did the rounds online of BJ Penn on top of the man and raining down some ground and pound, so at least he got some revenge. Although, I don't think it counts as a win on his record. But either way, there's some random dude from a bar out there who can tell his friends he knocked out a UFC Hall of Famer with a single punch. We all know that professional bodybuilders think that muscle wins fights.
There was a time where I had to grab with him, where I felt like, okay, I can crush this guy.
Even in a street fight,
I'd beat the out of you in the street fight.
But anyone who actually knows combat knows that if you have no training, you're screwed. Technique, skill, experience, and cardio are the things you need in hand-to-hand combat, and bodybuilders have literally none of that. Yet their egos still think that if push came to shove, their years of bicep curls and bench press would be enough to crush a professional fighter. So here are the times when pro fighters humble delusional bodybuilders. It's undoubtedly the most notorious case of a bodybuilder thinking they can take on pro fighters. It's Bradley Martin. For the past few years, the fitness YouTuber has been adamant he could take on the majority of the UFC roster or even boxing world champions simply due to his size.
By the time that you do get to me,
I'm asleep. No.
You may not, even if you're not asleep, you might just be, you're not gonna want to fight anymore.
Damn, that's 150.
But I've been in street fights though, so I know.
Damn, you really believe that?
He's obviously super jacked, incredibly strong in the gym, with his now trademark being, yeah, but I'm 260. Whether it's Nate Diaz, Sean O'Malley, Devin Haney, or even the former top 10 UFC heavyweight Brendan Schaub, Martin 100% believes he'd win.
You think you beat me in a street fight?
Huh?
You think you beat me in a street fight?
You in a street fight?
Yeah.
You're a podcaster, brother.
I love it. So the answer is then yes, yeah?
Of course.
I love it. I think I might be able to get you.
Yeah. Yeah, well.
And weirdly enough, he always uses the term street fight, as if a UFC fighter would be out of their element with no rules. He believes that if he grabbed a hold of a smaller fighter, he could pick them up, throw them on the floor, and essentially crush them with his weight.
Demetrius Johnson, who fights at 125 in a street fight, would f you up.
Why
dude.
Demetrius Johnson?
He's tiny, but he's black belt in everything when it comes to hand-to-hand combat.
But you don't.
So on the ground, I know you like. You'll think you'll like pick him up and slam him into the concrete, or I don't know where you're thinking this is gonna go.
I'm gonna crush his head on the floor.
No.
No? Really?
If you've ever heard of the Dunning-Kruger effect, it perfectly explains Bradley Martin's situation. This guy basically knows nothing about fighting whatsoever, meaning he sits here at the peak of Mount Stupid with his irrational sense of confidence.
And I don't know if you're serious or not.
Again, this
you
is
always fuck around. And it goes viral, so good for you. But I have to defend your ass, man, because we're buddies. It's exhausting.
I'm not gonna lie, it's a little trolly. The Nate one's a little trolly. Devin Haney in a street fight, I'll beat the out of him though. I really do believe that. 150 pounds. I do believe this one.
He's admitted that part of him is kind of trolling at this point because it sends him viral each time, but you can see a part of him really believes what he says. And his words have angered the MMA community.
Anytime I see him with a fighter and tries to like, oh, how would I?
Nah.
I'm like, stop that. just. He said stop that. No. For me, I'm like, for me personally, some people aren't even man enough to watch the jocks we fight in.
Yeah.
They're not even man enough or worthy enough to step in the ring or in the cage with us because you're about that life.
Yeah.
And when they, oh, how would I fare? How would I? I'm like, stop.
It ended up with numerous UFC fighters offering to spar Bradley Martin, with even DJ himself being super keen.
He's 265, he's a bodybuilder, so obviously he's got the weight advantage, but at the end of the day, you know, that's the beautiful thing about grappling. It's not about weight, it's about technique. And we're gonna try to grapple. You know, I told Brendan Schaub that I wanna make it happen. I'm busy doing other things right now, but when I get back from all my vacation, I'm gonna fly down to Calabasas and we're gonna roll, man. I'm gonna roll him up.
But while he's strangely never accepted their invitations, thankfully Martin has still been humbled on numerous occasions. The most clear and obvious time was when he grappled with a few different jiu-jitsu experts, and it didn't go well for Bradley.
I got my head bad.
You good?
Yeah, hold on. I got rocked.
Got this one?
Against a high-level jiu-jitsu guy of a similar size, Martin couldn't do a thing. Even with all his muscle, strength, and power, he could hardly move his opponent off his base.
Some jiu-jitsu.
He got thrown around, ragdolled, and submitted in any way the BJJ expert wanted. But then Martin rolled with another guy, one who was considerably smaller than him. And while the guy decided to pull guard against Martin, he did fare a little better.
Nice. Get some gas.
Clearly, the jiu-jitsu didn't work out as Martin planned. And although there was only their reactions to go off, it sounded like even Logan Paul destroyed Bradley Martin in a wrestling match they had.
That was fucking nothing, man, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I did slam the fuck out of him, dog.
I just popped his head like a speed bag.
Of course, Logan is an athletic guy himself and has a decent amount of college wrestling experience, but he's not a fighter. I think it's safe to say that if Bradley Martin hasn't learned his lesson after these 3 encounters, he never will. And while Bradley Martin is probably the most high-profile case of a bodybuilder being humbled, here's a story that very few people are aware of. It involves a Belgian MMA fighter called Zogu, who despite having an 0-2 record as a pro, was able to smash a cocky bodybuilder he had some Instagram beef with. In short, the bodybuilder called Bilal claimed he'd be too strong for any MMA fighter. Strangely enough, the majority of his Instagram posts are mocking martial artists and bragging about how good he is at fighting. And for whatever reason, the Belgian MMA fighter decided to defend the honor of mixed martial arts, drove 7 hours into Germany, went to the bodybuilder's backyard with a camera guy, and duked it out.
What's up? Now you're here.
Yeah, no, I'm here.
Now you think you can beat me.
You're all talk.
Show me.
You're all talk.
You are all talk. You talk a little bit.
What the fuck is your...
Even though Zogu had fought as low as featherweight and had never even won a professional fight, he made easy work of the bodybuilder.
Stand up. Stand up.
It actually looked like the MMA fighter took it easy on the bodybuilder, throwing mostly body shots. Ultimately, he tapped him out twice in just a couple of minutes, and the bodybuilder, who was totally gassed out, decided enough was enough. Yet, in what totally contradicts this guy's entire Instagram page about him being so strong he can win a fight with ease, he claimed if he had time to train, he would have been successful.
The only one, because I didn't have time to train. This guy's training his whole life. You know, still I said to him, Norman, I need time to practice, train a little bit. But yeah, it's fair game. I said I want to fight. I did it. He got sold 2 times. He's good, but I'm better.
He asked for a rematch after he had some time to practice, but that doesn't seem to be happening anytime soon. The bodybuilder is still mocking MMA fighters on its Instagram to this day, although that fight is out there for the world to see. But if we needed any more proof that muscle won't overcome a trained fighter, let's take a look at what happened when 5-time world's strongest man Mariusz Pudzianowski tried MMA. The Polish man Mountain is one of the most successful competitive strongmen in history, but he's also an avid MMA fan and fighter. Due to his sheer size, he actually won his first 2 bouts, albeit against lesser opposition. The first by TKO, but he gassed badly in a second fight, which, bear in mind, was only 2 rounds. And then somehow, some way, he was signed to fight against the former 2-time UFC heavyweight champion Tim Sylvia. We have seen some crazy matchmaking in MMA history, and this one is right up there.
He fought Tim Sylvia like really early on. Like when so he fought Tim Sylvia in his 3rd pro fight and he got the fuck beaten out of him.
Sylvia was on the back end of his career, but he was still the UFC champion just 3 years prior and had over 30 fights to his name compared to Pudzianowski, who barely had 10 minutes under his belt. Early on, Pudzianowski actually had some success with low kicks and was even able to hold Sylvia against the cage.
Będzie powalenie, Mariusz Pudzianowski kontra Tim Sylvia, wysoko pociągnij Mariusz jeszcze tę nogę i
obalenie dla Mariusza, bardzo.
But as the fight went on, Mariusz completely gassed out, could hardly land a strike, and ended up tapping the ground and pound.
Pudzianowskiego. Sylwia w tej chwili absolutnie dominuje. Jeszcze jeden low kick, widział walkę z Kałagucim, widział, że Japończyk kopał i Pudzianowski odczuwał te ciosy. Będzie starał się trzymać ręce rywala, ale wiele pozycja północ-południe na drugą stronę. Znów mamy boczną z drugiej strony i próba dojścia. Czyżby do klucza? Nie. Sylwia będzie jednak próbował.
Pudzianowski actually dedicated himself to MMA full-time and had a pretty decent career in Poland, fighting all the way into his mid-40s. But even so, his encounter with Tim Sylvia was a stark reminder that strength doesn't equal fighting prowess.
Go to UFC, fight with Sylvia. Oh, I am crazy. Sylvia, show me first time what is this MMA.
And on the topic of strongmen, here's perhaps the most famous one of all time, Hafthor Bjornsson. We all remember the old clip of Thor having a play spar with Conor McGregor, and while that isn't the story of this video, it's proof he believes his enormous 6'9" frame is enough to win a fight. Because after their time together, Hafthor claimed he would have crushed McGregor at will and went nice on him so as to not injure Conor before his fight against Jose Aldo.
There was a time where I had to grab with him, where I felt like, okay, I can crush this guy. But he had a fight against Aldo, I think a week later, so I was like, I better be nice to him because I don't want to injure him right now. He's about to have the biggest fight of his life right now. It's going to be a huge fight for him. And that fight actually
set him to the moon.
Sat him to the moon, basically. Yeah. So he should thank me and probably pay me a bit to
for not crushing him.
And although we'll never find out what would have happened if Hafthor would have been more aggressive against McGregor, we do know how he fared against BJJ superstar Gordon Ryan. Despite letting Thor start on top, it just took Gordon Ryan a few seconds to reverse the position and end up on top. After that, Ryan gave Thor some tips on how to stay on top and they went again. But the outcome was actually worse. The BJJ World Champ was able to take Thor down and hold him there like it was nothing. Now, I would guess that Thor knew he couldn't out-grapple someone as talented as Gordon Ryan, and he actually admitted that he wanted to learn more.
It was nice, humbling, but at the same time, makes you want to learn more, makes you want to come again, do more, especially getting to know you too. You guys are amazing human beings, nice, humble.
And then finally, coming out of Romanian promotion RXF, this tattooed up Instagram model stepped in the cage and found out muscle doesn't win fights. We're not exactly sure of the backstory of this fight, only that the tattooed bodybuilder found another gym bro, but it was clear that he had no background in fighting whatsoever. He got rocked within seconds, dominated on the ground, and tapped out to a choke that wasn't even under the chin properly. All in all, just goes to show that you can be 300 pounds on steroids with muscles coming out of everywhere, but if you can't fight, you can't fight. When it comes to professional fighters notorious for street fighting, there's one man that stands head and shoulders above the rest, Bas Rutten.
He was just blasting people with kicks, fucking people's legs up.
Yeah.
He was fucking people up.
He is the former UFC heavyweight champion, creator of numerous street fight DVDs, and literally has a section about his battles outside of the cage on his Wikipedia. If there's one pro fighter not to mess around with, it's Rutten. Yet, whether it's a group of club bouncers, an American football player, or even 3 Navy SEALs, some people try to test themselves against him, and every time it ends horribly. So these are the times when strangers thought they could fight Bas Rutten. Usually when it comes to street fights, size, weight, and aggression are the most important factors. At least that's what former Chicago Bears linebacker Brian Urlacher thought when Bas Rutten accidentally stepped on his foot at a charity event many years ago.
At the after party, and there was a band playing. The band loved me. They say, hey, we got Bas Rutten here, so jump on stage. So I'm singing with the band. The drummer says, hey, you play drums. You want to play the drums? I play the drums, and I jump off stage, and I'm walking around, and I step on his toes. Kid you not. So I step on his toes, and you know how it goes. You step in, but you don't really step on somebody's toes. And he's pushing me. I said, listen, man, I'm really sorry. I didn't know the guy. I mean, this big guy. And I said, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry about it. He says, no, I don't need your sorry.
And at 6'4", 260 odd pounds with an athletic background, Urlacher likely presumed he could intimidate Bas Rutten with ease. But behind all of Rutten's smiles, jokes, and pranks, he's an absolute savage. Throughout the 1990s, Boss was arguably the most feared striker in mixed martial arts, so despite apologizing and even offering to buy Urlacher a beer, the former NFL player continued to push the drama.
I stepped on his toes. Come on, relax, dude. And I wanted to give him a beer, and he kept going, kept going. I said, okay, listen, normally I would have knocked you out already, dude. I mean, we're at a fundraiser right now. Now you got to shut up.
And then, Urlacher made the critical mistake, asking Rutten to take things outside.
Drinking a bud or whatever. I said, listen, you want a beer or something? I don't need your beer. I said, listen, normally 3 strikes is out. Please, you got to stop now, man. So I walk away. I mean, it's a charity event. So he says, you want to take it outside?
Oh, boy.
So my friends and I start laughing, and I say, which was not the reaction he expected, I guess. And I said, yes.
At Urlacher's size, I very much doubt anyone had ever chuckled in his face at the prospect of fighting him, but he clearly had no idea who Boss Rutten was.
And he was like an intelligent animal, was the way I was described.
Well, they're waiting
to
take you down, and it's never going to happen.
Because he was so aggressive. Boss was so aggressive. He had that like Holland style with like vicious power, and he was just waylaying people.
Thankfully for the NFL player, someone explained to him that he was trying to fight a pioneer of MMA capable of taking him out in seconds. Most people doubt that Urlacher would have had the same response if it was just some random guy, but in the end, he apologized profusely to Boss.
I think they explained to him who I was, and he came to me and he apologized.
Had Urlacher's ego led him to stepping outside with Boss, it would have been one of the biggest mistakes of his entire life. And while that guy wisely backed down from Boss Rutten, here's a time where numerous people stood their ground. The story began in Tokyo, Japan, presumably during Boss's prime, as this is where a good number of his fights in the 90s took place. It involved 3 guys claiming to be Navy SEALs, using their size to intimidate Japanese people at a bar.
Claiming that they were Navy SEALs. They had Navy SEALs tattooed on their bodies, but they were Navy SEAls. 100% guaranteed they're not, because I trained the SEAls, and there are not guys like that, trust me. So, and they came in, and what happened was I was standing, and I see these, there's a long, it's called Motown, is the bar it's called in Roppongi, in Tokyo. And there's a long bar, and I see so many people flying left and right. They go, what's going on? And I'm looking, and these 3 guys came, and they pushed all these little Japanese people to the side.
And then they made the grave mistake. They pushed Boss to the side like he wasn't even there.
And sure enough, they pushed me as well. Say, hey guys, come on, man. What are you guys doing? And right away, they surrounded me. And you want to go, man? You want to go? You want to go? Bring it outside?
To make matters worse, Boss wasn't alone. With him was UFC tournament winner and former Pancrase champion Guy Mezger, former UFC, WEC, and Strikeforce champion Frank Shamrock, and a bunch of other fighters. But even in such formidable company, Boss was the one you wouldn't want to have a street fight with. And Guy Mezger warned these so-called Navy SEALs.
He says, we're all professional fighters. Oh, I don't give a crap. I don't give a crap. He says, yeah, I know, I understand that, but from all of us, that's the worst guy to pick a fight with. You shouldn't do this right now. And the guy goes, oh, so you want to go outside? I said, cool. Who do you want to fight? I said, I'll fight all 3 of you.
Even with all that backup, Boss happily agreed to fight all 3 of them just by himself, which should have been the sign that they were messing with the wrong person. But with that extra confidence, delusion, and arrogance that only alcohol gives you, the 3 guys stepped outside the bar ready to duke it out. Little did they know, they were about to fight one of the greatest fighters in the world at the time. And despite being 3-on-1, they were no match whatsoever.
We're walking outside, 2 of them got dropped instantly. I go bong bong.
Now just 1-on-1, Boss decided to play with his food.
Then I told the guys, I say, you know what? I'm not going to knock him out. I'm going to submit him. You know, I didn't want to do favors. So I remember I got him in an armbar first. He taps. He says he wants to quit. I let him go, and right away he attacks me again.
Whatever submission it was, Rutten was enjoying himself, but with the guy continually tapping out, only to attack him, he decided to choke him unconscious. And to somehow make matters worse, they publicly humiliated the last guy just to teach him a lesson that he isn't as tough as he thinks.
Everybody goes, boss, just choke him out. I go, okay. And so I choke him out. We laid him on the ground. I believe we pulled his pants down, and we were just waiting for him to wake up. That's what I believe we did at the time. And of course, he got very embarrassed when he woke up.
When Boss goes up against untrained fighters, that's always going to be the outcome. But this next story didn't just involve a fellow UFC fighter, but also the Ukrainian mafia. It was 1996, and Boss Rutten alongside a bunch of fighters headed to Ukraine for an MMA event. Boss wasn't fighting, but instead was invited out as a commentator. Although when he got to the airport, something wasn't right.
I give him my passport, and the guy goes, invitation. Excuse me. He goes, invitation. I go, oh, relax, dude. Then he goes, pop, he puts it on the desk. And I go, oh, yeah, they sent it to me. He says, but nobody told me to bring it. He goes, whoop, I get caught, handcuffs on, throw in the room. I go, okay, and I'm standing in a room by myself, and 30 seconds later, very fast, some guy comes in, takes me with him, making pictures of me.
Yeah.
Making pictures, then they uncuffed me, fingerprints. I'm doing the fingerprints, and then they said $35. And I go, $35 for what? He says, for the pictures.
Back in the 1990s, perhaps this was just a scam that crooked airport officials would pull on unsuspecting tourists, but for some reason, a leader of the Ukrainian mafia decided to rescue Boss from the situation.
Guy yelling, and there's a little guy walking in with a limp on a cane. And he looked like Joe Pesci. I'm going to show you a picture because I have a picture with him. Like I said, I'm not one to show it on camera because he's a mafioso. And he's with two giant security guys. And he goes to these guards and he gives everybody $100. $100. He yells at one guy. He runs away. He comes back with my luggage. We just walk out.
They jumped in the guy's Cadillac and, according to Boss, drove for 2 hours without anyone saying a single word. And with his history for occasionally crossing the line, Boss actually feared for his life.
I don't know where we're going. I didn't know it was a 2-hour drive and nobody says a word. And I'm sitting in and my wife has been telling me a long time, she said, one of these days, they're gonna kill you. I mean, you're crazy, you're doing way too much crazy stuff, and these people, some people cannot handle it. And I'm sitting there, oh shit, now.
This is the drive.
This is the drive.
But instead, it was the total opposite. The Ukrainian mafioso took him to a venue he owned that was part restaurant, part nightclub, and part strip club. And being in Eastern Europe, the vodka was flowing.
And I'm getting drunk with these guys.
Yeah.
And I'm freaking shooting big glasses of vodka, which that was too much for me. And I'm on the dance, I'm pole dancing. Security guards come. One guy wants to come with, I need to come with him, and he showed his MP5.
Yeah.
So I just grabbed the barrel and slapped him in the face. This whole thing. And then they finally come with another guy. They take me away. Joe Pesci showed up again. Nope. He's with us. He goes, oh, sorry.
After escaping a gun being pointed at him and security guards trying to escort him out, you'd think that would be the end of the drama for the night. But former UFC fighter Paul Valerans was also at the club. And all crazed up on Ukrainian vodka, Valerans bear-hugged Rutin from behind and weirdly bit his back. And bear in mind, Paul Valerans is a pro fighter, 6'8" and over 300 pounds.
So this big guy, he's attacking me from the back and he's biting. He bit through my skin. Later on we saw there was a hole. I said, Paul, you're hurting me. You got to stop, dude. I'm going to freaking throw you. And in front of me, there is like a mirror against the wall, which I thought was a mirror. So I go, screw it. So I figure for his arm, and I make a sidestep and I throw him against the wall. Well, it was one of those see-through mirrors on one side, security was sitting behind it, so he goes through the freaking glass, stitches everywhere, had to go to the hospital, do the wildest freaking trip.
In the end, they ended up in the hospital with Valerans, and thankfully, the late Valerans actually saw the funny side of the whole story.
Me and Boss Root were screwing around, and he ended up throwing me through a glass window. And we're drunk as shit. I guess I bit him on the shoulder. I don't remember.
And on the topic of Boss Rutin causing trouble in nightclubs, here's the time he took on numerous Swedish bouncers and actually ended up in prison. If you've ever been someone who goes clubbing, you'll know bouncers have a stereotype for causing fights. Even though they're the ones hired to stop things getting out of control, some bouncers are secretly happy if things get heated.
It's the bouncers. The bouncers really think that they can do something, and I don't know why. Maybe it is because they got more of them and they think,
So they give you shit. They want to test themselves because they know who you are.
It's all, yeah.
Do you find that because of you have such a reputation, do you find that guys get drunk and then they want to test themselves with you? Does that happen?
I had that till that whole bar fight in Sweden happened. And after that, for some reason, I never had it anymore.
Boss was out in a Swedish club, being his naturally extroverted and wild self. But for the people working the door, Boss was just a bit too energetic.
I'm jumping around and having fun, hey, what's up, everybody, man, I tried to make friends with everybody, tried to speak Swedish. And they said, can you come with us? So we go to these two doors, and there's a big fire stairs, like a marble stairs, giant. And he says, well, we want you to leave. I said, why? I said, well, you're too much energy, you're flopping around, it's not good. bothering the customers. I said, sure, okay.
He agreed to leave the club, but had one final request that seemed pretty fair. Boss asked the bouncers to go grab the friend he was with and let him know that he'd be outside the venue waiting for him. Being in the 90s without iMessage or texting, it would be really easy to lose your friend on a night out, especially if you had been kicked out without them knowing. But the bouncers weren't helpful.
They didn't expect that. They thought I was going to do something, of course, so he pushes me. And I said, now why would you push me? I said, I want to go. It's okay, you know, I don't want any trouble. And he started putting his finger on my chest, which is something I really can't stand, right? So I said, okay, don't touch me, because if you do that again, it's going to go wrong.
They kept poking and prodding at Rutan until he said, screw this, it's on.
And there I went, boom. And that guy went down. He went down like one punch. I've never seen anything. I heard him over the music. I heard that. Yeah, that was the wildest thing ever. And then they had these little microphones, right? So I don't know, but fast. It was 4 or 5 guys. And they start fighting, and the guy that I knocked out constantly, because he would wake up.
Boss had knocked out so many bouncers that they were waking up, getting back in the fight, and getting knocked out again. It must have been an absolute bloodbath. Of course, the police got called, saw the drama unfolding, and locked Boss up in a local prison for 2 or 3 nights. And funnily enough, his wife actually thought he was being unfaithful after finding out her partner had disappeared in Sweden.
After 2 days, they allowed me to give my first phone call. And I'm calling my wife, and she's freaking out. I said, honey, you got to be, okay, relax. I say, I got some good and some bad news. What do you want to hear first? She says, the good news. I say, I didn't fuck 2 Swedish girls. She says the bad news, that I'm in jail. You think this is fun? She's going to hate me for this story, because every time she says, you should tell us. You know, it's not funny. I think that's a hell of a story.
But with so many street fight stories to his name that you could write a book, the question has to be asked, just how did Boss Rutan end up this way? There's hundreds, maybe thousands of professional fighters who never get in any altercations whatsoever. Well, a big part undoubtedly is down to his super extroverted personality and enjoyment of partying in his youth. But in truth, his origin in not only street fighting, but MMA altogether all stems back to being bullied as a kid.
I was very sick as a kid, so I was bullied a lot. I had a horrible skin disease. I was the leper in school, that's what they called me. And needless to say, you start building an aggression towards these bullies because it went on a daily basis.
Being a skinnier kid with really severe eczema, Rutan was one of the first the schoolyard bullies would target. For years, he just accepted it until a Bruce Lee movie inspired him to train and get his revenge.
When I was 12 years old, I saw a Bruce Lee movie, sneaked in, started learning martial arts. Took 2 years actually to convince my parents. But once I did it for 2.5 months, I knocked the first bully out, the biggest one in my school. And that's when I realized, wow, this is actually pretty easy.
And after knocking out the biggest bully in his school, Boss wanted to get payback on everyone who had wronged him. So, like Arya Stark in Game of Thrones, he had a list of every bully he had suffered at the hands of.
That guy bullied me, so I started putting down a list, making a list.
Kill
And I went after everybody, yeah. I went after everybody. Some of them were so sad that I just slapped them with the hand. Because they would say, yeah, I don't even remember what I said. I said, but that's the worst thing.
What do you mean you went after them? Like, was it like a Taken thing? Like, did you track them down and then...
No, I know what it was just in school. I would wait after school or in the break or whatever. I would say, hey, remember that? Bonk, and I would knock him out.
Despite having to stop training temporarily, after the police knocked on Boss's parents' house to inform them he had broken a kid's nose, this was the origin story for perhaps the most notorious street fighter in MMA history. When it comes to scary UFC fighters, at least for me, one man comes to mind: Rampage Jackson. He's the former UFC light heavyweight champion, a true knockout artist, and one seriously aggressive man.
And I started stumping him in his face because he was still down there. And my boy Big Perm, thank God, he pulled me out for him before I killed him.
If there's a list of UFC fighters you wouldn't want to have a street fight with, Rampage would be right at the top. But that said, whether it was his old bullies, drunk guys in bars, or literally guillotining his own son, some people just mess with the wrong guy. And they always regret their choices once the situation escalates. So these are the times when strangers thought they could fight Quentin Rampage Jackson. If you don't know, Rampage does regular lifestyle streams on Kick, and in one particular case was him out late at a bar. Everything was normal, when all of a sudden his cameraman supposedly got pushed.
Okay, here you are, talking to some young ladies, putting some makeup on, chapstick. Oh!
Hey, come here. Did you just push him?
And if you know anything about Rampage Jackson, he hates bullies or when someone is physically provoked.
If I feel like I'm in the right,
You know what I'm saying? I go to war for somebody. I don't like people fucking with my friends, my family, my kids. You know, somebody can push me. I'll be like, oh, okay, whatever, get the fuck out. But I don't like bullies. I don't like bullies. Despite what people think about me, like I don't consider people making fun of somebody else a bully. I consider people doing bodily harm, you know, physically touching someone. I figure that they're bullies, and I don't like people like that.
So, in response to his camera guy getting pushed, Rampage scared this guy senseless.
Hey, come here. Did you just push him?
Yeah, he pushed me.
What?
He pushed me.
Hey, he got the f***ing camera. He didn't push you.
All right.
Get the fuck out of here if I f*** you up. I watched everything. You a hey, don't you ever touch my cameraman.
You can do that.
Guess what? He pushed this guy for no reason.
No, he didn't.
I saw everything. It's on camera. It's on camera. It's on camera. It's on camera.
It turns out that the two girls earlier in the clip were apparently flirting with the camera guy. Rampage's cameraman told them he has a partner and to leave him alone, and the guy that pushed him was probably a jealous friend of the girls.
He was like, oh, get away from me. I got a girlfriend. Get away from me. Get away from me. And I heard him, and the show must go on because my stream, I just like to entertain people. And I was there doing my thing. And then I saw this one dude, I guess he was with those girls. He came by and he just football hit my cameraman. He joked really, really bad. And my cameraman, he's not a big dude. And I saw it, and I wanted him to get the fuck out of there. And I go to that place sometime, and the security know me. I don't cause problems, bro. I don't cause problems where I go. So I don't play with it, bro.
At the time, I'm sure that guy had no idea he just pissed off one of the most frightening fighters in UFC history. Thankfully for him, he only got a little roughed up and pushed out the bar, because it could have ended a whole lot worse, just like it did for this guy who stupidly used the N-word towards Rampage Jackson.
He jabbed me in the mouth with the phone. I tried to kill him. And his mom heard everything.
It was back when Rampage was at college. At the time, he wasn't a fighter, just a wrestler. And after accidentally getting locked out of his dorm, Rampage had some serious beef with this guy who was both racist and physical.
One of my teammates was racist, and he hit me in the mouth with a payphone receiver. One time we were smoking weed in the room. I saw hitting the joint, and he looked at me, he said, Rampage, you got some lips.
Then later on, the guy again confronted Rampage.
I'm beating on the door trying to get in, and she in the bathroom. I didn't know what was going on because we had connecting bathrooms, and no dudes there. They didn't have no, just so everybody trying to swarm on a dude. The girl was there. I thought one of my teammates trying to smash my chick because that's what happens. That's what happens. I ain't gonna lie. So I'm beating on my door like, what the f*** take you so long to open the door? You were just on the bed. Anyway, this guy called from around the corner. He was like, don't you see I'm on the phone?
And while Rampage may have been a different guy at college, he was able to let the racist statement go. But once the guy punched him in the jaw with a phone, Rampage saw red.
He hit me in the mouth with the payphone, and I tried to kill him. And it was in the corner. It was blood everywhere. There was blood everywhere. Then I looked in the mirror and I saw my lip open. This is what sent me to jail. I went back and I started stumping him in his face because he was still down there. And my boy Big Perm, thank God, he pulled me off of him before I killed him.
Bear in mind some of the brutal knockouts Rampage has delivered. For him to say he's never beaten up anyone worse than this guy in his entire life, that's some seriously strong words. Funnily enough, if you check Jackson's Wikipedia page, it says he was kicked out of college for fighting with a teammate. And I don't need to be a genius to put two and two together and say this was probably the beating that got him expelled from college. But from a random college fight to the recent time that Rampage Jackson almost came to blows with an active UFC fighter on his podcast.
And then, Rampage left a little comment on Instagram, which I originally thought was funny, but then I understand where you were coming from.
I understand where
you were fighting MVP. You did this to MVP, which I thought it was a great move, hyped up the fight. Rampage made a joke on Instagram, and then Kevin FaceTimed me and said, yo, if I come there, I got to fight. I said, Kevin, we can't do all that. Then we'll just have to reschedule.
Much like the former light heavyweight champion, Kevin Holland is an unapologetic, outspoken fighter who doesn't mind insulting someone for a joke. So with the two together, they were either going to be best pals or their egos were going to kick in. And unfortunately, it was the latter. The drama stems from the fact that Rampage Jackson made a joke about how Kevin Holland grabbed MVP's hand in their face-off.
Because I love you, but I'm a fan of Kevin Holland. I love the way he talks loud.
I'm a fan of his too, but I know, hey, I know everybody ain't my sense of humor ain't for everybody.
So. But you did this to him. It wasn't needed. I feel like you owe him an apology. He drove 3 hours.
Listen, we already talked about it on the FaceTime. You know what I'm saying? I like to joke around. I don't mean nothing personal with nobody. That's me. That's my sense of humor. Everybody ain't like me, and everybody ain't like you. If people, I've learned throughout my life, if people don't like my sense of humor,
Maybe it was the comment itself, the fact Holland lost in a pretty embarrassing way, or something else entirely, but he wasn't a fan of Rampage's joke or his attitude.
Kevin, you could probably appreciate that attitude.
I mean, I guess, in a sense, you know what I mean? It
I
just
mean-
doesn't work like that for Kev.
Why?
It's usually, if you say fuck it to me, it's usually fuck you, so.
well, I didn't say fuck you. I said fuck it.
Yeah, that's what I said. If you say fuck it to me, I usually say fuck
Well, fuck you too. I don't give a fuck.
And then it's F it, and then it's F
Hey,
you.
bro,
I like that.
Bro, I got no problem with this cat.
Yeah,
but,
I love
you know,
that.
But you know what I'm saying? I'm going to beat me whether he like it or not.
The two tried to reconcile on Rampage's podcast, but there was still some serious tension in the air.
I play with everybody. I play everybody. People troll me. I troll people. It's like the world we live in. It's social
Yeah,
media.
but I don't really troll people until they troll me.
Well, that's fine.
Then I just want to smoke,
But,
you know what I mean?
but you and I are not the same person, though.
Yeah, I
Every-
mean,
and
I
everybody
don't want
not
to be
like
the
you.
same person as you.
Same here. I don't
You know
want
what I
to. I don't want to be the same person as you, brother.
From then on out, Kevin was sneakily trying to antagonize Rampage.
Kevin,
everything's
you
not
think Rampage
funny.
is a funny guy?
Nah, this fool has temper tantrum problems.
Temper tantrum problem.
He's talking about. I think he's talking about the Ultimate Fighter and the Door.
I don't know what.
That's like 10 years ago, Kevin.
It's
People
the same
evolve.
thing. Not really.
You don't think people evolve?
Some do. Not Jackson.
And the two even discussed fighting one another.
That's the last thing he want to do is fight me, though. That's the last.
Nah,
thing.
I still want to.
No, it's
I don't
not.
give a f- about the fight on Saturday.
No, you don't want to fight me.
I'm just being real.
I'm being real with you, young buck. You
I'm
don't
just
wanna
letting you
fight
know.
me. I'm just letting you know. You
sounds good.
Sometimes people don't know what they want.
Yeah.
You don't want to fight me.
I feel like
sounds
Kevin,
good.
you have a very unique reputation. I'm throwing on one of the new Jakes ones.
Known
I
for
feel-
fighting everybody.
You're known for
and
fighting
anybody
at all times.
Don't care who they are.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
And I do like the fact that
I'm the
Dana-
same way.
And you actually have to give credit to both Rampage and the podcast host Bear for eventually trying to de-escalate the situation, because earlier on in his career, this would have undoubtedly ended in a brawl.
I understood why Kevin Holland was mad at me. I understood why, because I guess he didn't like one of my jokes that I said about him and MVP over Instagram. So I understood that, you know, the kid was cutting weight probably. It was, you know, a couple of days before his fight. And honestly, at that time, Kevin Holland could have spit in my face and I wouldn't have done nothing because
wow,
so close to his fight, you know what I'm saying? I respect what goes into being a fighter and stuff like that, and I would never want to jeopardize another fighter from earning a living or not make it to the fight.
Thankfully, in the end, the two squashed their beef and fist bumped one another. But that wasn't the end of the story. After the podcast and after Kevin Holland lost his next fight, Rampage found a sneaky way of getting back at him.
Like, what can I do to this kid to pay him back for, you know, telling me to shut the fuck up on my podcast and all this shit? And I knew I wasn't going to beat him up. You can't solve everything with violence 100% of the time. So I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna be petty. I'm gonna get this kid back. So I dropped the diss song on his ass.
Was it as good as Kendrick's? I actually missed that song. I didn't hear it.
No, it's not as good as Kendrick's, but it's fun and it's a fun song.
There were AI clips of him beating up Holland, and the lyrics basically say he's a level above. After that, I don't think we'll see Kevin Holland on Rampage's podcast anytime soon.
Just telling him like what I've done in this sport and who I am and teaching him basically be careful who you talk to because you ain't on my level, son. Basically, that's what the song basically is about.
Oh, okay. Did he respond?
He was mad. He was pissed.
He was pissed.
We was cool until I made that song. Like we had hashed things up. Then I made the song, dropped the music video. Then he was like, "Fuck you, I don't fuck with you no more."
And months later, the drama has actually changed how Kevin Holland goes about doing media and podcasts now.
I haven't seen you do any interviews in the lead up to this fight. Was that an intentional thing, and why exactly?
Yeah, ever since the Jackson podcast interview, I really don't just do none of that shit anymore. It's like they kind of killed it for everybody. And speaking of that, they still owe me a couple grand, and they always do a bad job of paying me on the first of the month. They always pay like around like the 10th or something like that. I don't know if they're having a money problem, but they need to do a better job paying me on time. So, future reference for all you guys that want to do interviews, I charge out the ass now. So, unless you're getting it this week, you ain't getting one.
While Kevin Holland is known for being outspoken, another sport has a certain stereotype for its athletes being tough guys. I'm talking about rugby. And when a group of rugby guys in the UK tried it with Rampage Jackson, it didn't go well. At the time, Rampage Jackson had just knocked out Chuck Liddell to become the UFC champion. It meant Rampage was quite literally one of the scariest men on the planet at that time.
He has the all-time greatest slam knockout ever.
Yeah.
All-time greatest.
And at a bar in the UK, some rugby guys decided to mess with him after Rampage told them to stop picking on a smaller guy he was with.
The last time I almost got in a big brawl, my first time going to the UK, and I was with Hans Monekamp and some fighters, and one fighter was real small. I was with Dean Lister too, and one fighter was real small. Long story short, these rugby guys are trying to bully us. And the biggest one was trying to fuck with the small guy. And I said, hey man, leave him alone, man. And he had no idea who he was. This was right after I fought Chuck. So I was UFC champion. He didn't know.
Rampage tried to be peaceful, but of course, the guy didn't expect someone to stand up to him.
Look here, let me buy you a beer so I don't have to beat your ass. And he looked at me because he thought I was gonna be scared because he was way bigger than me. He's like, what? You buy me a beer so you don't have to beat my ass? He thought it was funny.
Then later on, that same guy followed Rampage into the bathroom, most likely to continue being aggressive and perhaps even start a fight. But this guy would have 100% ended up in a hospital if it wasn't for his friend.
Long story short, I go to the bathroom and I'm pissing, and I'm from the streets of Memphis. I always watch my back, and I see him walking in the bathroom behind me, and I can see his silhouette out of the chrome on the toilet, right? And he started getting behind me. So I kind of slowly stopped pissing and get ready, to move when he go try to punch me. And then one of his teammates walk in, and he was like, Rampage Jackson, what the f you doing here in England? Then the guy was like, oh, you know him? He was like, you don't know who that is? He just knocked out Chuck Liddell. He's the baddest man on the planet right now.
The UFC was incredibly niche in the UK back in 2007, so for someone to recognize Jackson would have been somewhat rare. So basically, this random rugby player who thought he was tough got incredibly lucky that day.
He just said that because I was going to try to kill him. If he tried to attack me, I was going to try to kill him. Self-defense, Yeah. And maybe his teammate's going to jump in. I'm used to being jumped, and I'm not scared of it. And I go washing my hands. He come to me. He said, "Hey, you want to buy me that beer?" Now, man, you get the fuck out of my face.
But there's a running theme with Rampage Jackson. He absolutely hates when someone tries to physically intimidate someone else. So you can only imagine what he did to a bully who beat up his younger brother. The story goes that Rampage's brother, who's 2 years younger than him, came home one day saying he was attacked by a guy. Rampage may have had 2 years on the bully, but he was seriously outsized.
Who is your favorite bully you beat up?
Well, it was this one bully named TJ that used to beat up my little brother. And he was the same age as my little brother, 2 years younger than me, but the guy was twice as big as me.
Either way, Rampage, who presumably wasn't training any martial arts at the time, beat this guy up badly. But of course, that guy had older brothers of his own, so things were far from over. Clearly, this guy must have been tough in street fights, because his older brothers didn't believe that just one guy was able to beat him, so much so that they wanted to see it for themselves.
He got a lot of brothers, and they thought I used brass knuckles on him the first time I beat him up. So I had to kick his ass again like the next day.
Like in front of him, right?
Right in front of his brothers. And I was honestly thinking that his brothers, I thought they was going to jump me. Because they was older.
I would have thought so too.
Yeah, but they didn't. They wanted a fair fight. Because they thought I beat them up with brass knuckles. And then after that, they never f***ed me again. And then they never f***ed me again. And they never f***ed my brother.
And after the rematch and Rampage beat this guy up even worse than the first time, they learned their lesson. Rampage was concerned they may jump him altogether. But I guess back then there was some weird street fight code that people followed. Because in the end, they were fine with Rampage sticking up for his younger brother, and that was that. And on the topic of street fights, there's plenty more of those in Jackson's past.
No cap, I held my own. Because the two guys, I fucked them up. I'm not gonna lie. The two guys, I beat them up. 3 guys, I beat them up. But when it was 4, I still held my own, but it was so bad that they had to come back with guns the next day. I held my own. I grew up fighting in the street because I hated bullies, right? But people wouldn't fight me on one-on-one, so I was good at fighting 2 and 3 people. It didn't bother me.
It does make sense that after getting a bit of a reputation, people wouldn't want to fight Rampage one-on-one. But one-on-one, 2-on-1, even 4-on-1, Rampage was never out of a fight. And even later on in life, it didn't matter who it was. If you were out of line, he'd let you know. Just like the time Rampage Jackson put his actual son to sleep. Now both Rampage and his son didn't want to share the reason why they ended up fighting. Presumably it was something embarrassing for his son, but we do know how the fight played out.
We already got in a fight once.
Oh really?
2 years ago?
Yeah.
He sucker punched me.
Well, I saw the slap.
How'd that go for you?
That?
And what'd you do? Did you slam him on his head?
Oh yeah, that motherfucker went to the hospital that day.
Yeah.
I don't play that shit.
And Rampage really wasn't joking when he said that. He said he beat him up, guillotined him, and when his son wouldn't tap out, he put him to sleep.
I felt bad about kicking his ass that day, and
To this day, he's the only person I ever guillotined.
Oh my god.
I never get guillotined on nobody. I didn't want to keep punching him, so I guillotined him and he wouldn't tap out. And
you put him to sleep?
Yeah.
Wow.
Cause when he sucker punched me, he almost rocked me, and it was right by I got like this 100-year-old door that turned to like a table.
Yeah, it's
like 200 pounds. If I would have hit my head, I would have died.
It turns out the sucker punch was a pretty good one, and bear in mind, Rampage's son is trained in MMA, 4-0 as an amateur, so it makes sense he has a pretty good punch. But he didn't sucker punch his dad that day. He sucker punched Rampage Jackson, the former UFC light heavyweight champion, and found out what's what the hard way. Thanks for checking out the video. If you enjoyed it, please go hit subscribe for us. We're looking to build a channel and a community for us MMA fans, and every extra subscriber helps us get one step closer. Thanks, and we hope to see you in the next video. When it comes to UFC fighters known for knockouts, aggression, and street fights, one man comes to mind: Chuck Liddell.
Chuck Liddell in his prime was a fucking monster.
Yeah.
He's the former UFC light heavyweight champion, has the most KOs in the division's history, and has the longest KO winning streak in the entire UFC. So when it comes to knocking people out with his hands, Chuck Liddell is literally one of the very best in the world. Yet, whether it's a group of Navy SEALs, regular dudes with road rage, or that infamous London bar crawl involving Tito Ortiz and Lee Murray, people have decided it was a good idea to test themselves against the Iceman. And spoiler alert, it was quite the opposite of a good idea.
When you're in a street fight and you have a choice and Chuck Liddell was there, I don't care who else is there, you follow Chuck Liddell.
So these are the times when strangers thought they could fight Chuck Liddell. It's to this day the most infamous street fight in UFC history, and it goes all the way back to 2002. The UFC held their first event on UK soil, with the event ironically named Brawl at the Hall, but after the event, the brawl took to the streets of London. Now, most fans will know the tale of Lee Murray being heavily rumored to knock out the then light heavyweight champion Tito Ortiz in a brawl. The story goes that one of Ortiz's friends was play fighting with Pat Miletich outside a nightclub, but someone in Lee Murray's group thought it was an actual attack, so decided to intervene.
Somebody was on Pat's back and kind of like playing with him, choking him, but I guess somebody took it the wrong way. It was a friend of Tito's that was on his back doing that. Somebody took it the wrong way, came up, cold cocked him. He went down. Taxi cab ran over his arm, and all hell started to break loose.
Damn.
Then one of Lee Murray's friends, who funnily enough was involved in the infamous bank heist, thought it was a real situation. And if you know Lee Murray and the people he kept company with, they didn't stop the fight peacefully. They escalated it and apparently knocked the guy out for good measure.
What the F are you doing trying to choke my coach? And right when Bo wanted to say something back to him, Paul, Lee Murray's buddy, Paul was the one that was one of the guys in part of the so-called biggest bank heist in world history. Paul, out of nowhere, who's a big dude, with a running start, blasted Bo with the right hand and launched him. And the alley blew up into a huge fight.
Ortiz saw his friend separated from consciousness, and then all hell broke loose. Punches were flying, people were dropping, and Lee Murray floored Tito Ortiz.
Tito got knocked out fair and square. He went after Lee. Lee knocked his ass out and kicked him in the head a couple times, and I saved Tito's ass by telling Lee to stop.
Murray allegedly put Ortiz down with a 5-punch combination and continued to soccer kick him on the floor. Of course, Ortiz denies it, but more of the eyewitnesses echo what Murray said went down. But what often gets overlooked in the story is Chuck Liddell's involvement. He claimed he ran in to protect a friend who was being attacked by 3 men, but once he was in the street fight, he didn't mind getting involved. Chuck had his back against the wall and was apparently KOing anyone who dared to step into the punching range with him.
And it was like watching a movie. I mean, Chuck just throwing punches and people are just dropping. He's like, bam, bam, hammer fist down, boom, 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 just walking through the crowd, right? It was just one of those nights, you know? Things happen.
His rule was, if I don't know you, I drop you.
I wasn't as high as 7 or 8, but I mean, I know how to fight in groups. I mean, big brawls. I grew up fighting a lot, and you know, I know how to fight, and I hit hard, so.
According to him, he knocked out half a dozen men, but other fighters who watched on said the number was far, far higher.
Chuck Liddell will tell you exactly the same story. He was there knocking people out left and right, trying to save his own ass because he had people coming after him. So
imagine those regular club goers in the early hours of the morning who decided to get involved in the brawl, just to be in the midst of 5 or 6 UFC fighters going at it and ending up face to face with one of the most devastating knockout artists in UFC history. There's being in the wrong place and at the wrong time, and then there's that. And while that is undoubtedly the most notorious street fight of any UFC fighter, here's another Chuck Liddell fight you've probably never heard of. It all started when Chuck Liddell pulled up to a red light and saw 3 guys attacking just one man.
One time I was in slow and I'm driving down the street, and I pulled to a red light right by Tortilla Flats, and there was a red light, and I saw these 3 guys beating up this guy on the ground. And I just put my car in park, got out, ran over.
We don't know the backstory behind why the initial fight started, but we do know what Chuck Liddell did. And as you can imagine, it didn't end well for the 3 men.
Kicked the guy off, and I had one guy held on top of the other guy, holding the guy down. He had his arm behind his back. This guy came running up, and I just kicked him. Oh, wow, upkick on I just bang, got him right in his hand, out. Just go to sleep. But, I did quite a few fights like that. It was a lot of fun out there.
Those 3 guys just thought they were going to beat up one poor guy and carry on with their day, but they ended up having to fight a UFC champion and Hall of Famer instead. For most people, a street fight would be an incredibly memorable thing. Whether it went well, bad, or indifferently, it's not something that would be easily forgotten. But for Chuck, well, he's had so many that he can't even remember them all.
I was watching another podcast that you did, and there was a dude who was kind of describing a scenario where he was outside a club with you, and some guy said or did something to you, and you just kind of like walked over, and he didn't actually specify what you did, but it seemed like he was saying that you knocked him out, and then you had to like rush over to him and be like, yo, we gotta get Uber, we gotta get out of here.
And after being told of a time he knocked someone out outside a club, Liddell wasn't sure if it actually happened or not.
If that happened, I mean, usually there's lines. Everyone's got lines and lines across it.
Right.
There was no other option if that happened. I don't know that some guys remember stories a lot different than they happen, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
I mean, for the most part, it's few and far between when I've thrown a punch outside of the cage after I was fighting.
But while he was fighting, it might have been a different story, just like the time he was working as a bouncer and had a run-in with a big group of Navy SEALs. It went down in Hawaii, where Chuck and his entire fight team were out there, with some of them working as bouncers, and involved was Gan McGee, a former UFC heavyweight title challenger who went by the nickname The Giant, and for good reason.
Fighting with like a bunch of Navy SEAls. Yeah, that happened a long time. People ask that all the time. I mean, for me, I wasn't involved in most of it. The first time they came in, all the guys that trained with me that are normally working at that bar were in Hawaii with us, because we all went to Hawaii for our whole fight team went. And Gan McGee was still there, who's 6'10", almost 300 pounds, and he fought for a UFC world title at one point.
And it turns out that whatever happened, the SEALs got away with it.
He got cut. I got cut over his eye. He got cut somewhere on his face, I think. And then a couple of his buddies really pissed off, and everyone was mad about it.
After kind of winning the first exchange and being able to escape, you'd think the Navy SEALs would have left it there. I mean, they just had a scuffle with a group of UFC fighters and got away pretty much unscathed. But we know Navy SEALs are as tough as they come, and probably thought they could handle themselves if the situation was to escalate again. So just 2 weekends later, they came back to the very same bar. But this time, the UFC fighters were more than ready.
When I showed up, they had one of my buddies had a guy pinned. The only thing I did was I ran over. And this guy was hitting my buddy when he had the guy started hitting my buddy that had him pinned. I ran over and just head snapped the guy, bounced his face off the ground. So
what
he
does head snap?
Yeah, what is that? Just grab his head, and just move back and pull his head down and slapped his head off his head went off the ground. He went out.
Chuck literally grabbed a guy's head and smashed it face first into the ground. That's gotta be a broken nose, concussion, and probably a whole lot more. Thinking you're tougher than a group of heavyweight and light heavyweight UFC fighters was a grave mistake from those Navy SEALs who learned their lesson the hard way. But in that very same interview, Steve-O, who was around MMA circles at the time, thought Chuck was more of the type to calmly submit someone in a street fight fight versus violently KO them. And that's where Liddell explained that much earlier in his youth, he tried the wrestling approach, but it backfired massively.
You strike me as more of a put him in a like choke him out and then lay him down nice and soft.
Like that was the next guy.
Typically that would I don't once it goes to throwing punches, I don't do that. I did that one time in college and got kicked in the face while I was doing it. Like never again. So once a bunch of people are throwing punches, I try to keep my hands free.
From that day in college and on, if hands were getting thrown, Chuck Liddell wasn't thinking about wrestling, just straight up knocking people out. But those fighting roots weren't God-given to Chuck. As a young kid, he was explicitly told not to fight under any circumstances.
Your mom told a story about you being at daycare as a young boy, and somebody was picking on you, bullying you, maybe even hitting you, and you stood there with your hands by your side, your fist balled up, your hands by your side, and the daycare teacher was like, "Why are you not fighting back?"
As a kid, Chuck was boisterous, played every sport possible, super active, so to not stand up for himself seemed way out of character. But he didn't have a choice. He was told he couldn't.
My mom told me I wasn't allowed to fight. I wasn't allowed to hit anybody, so I wouldn't do it. I mean, it's my mom said I can't, so I guess I'll just sit here and take it. But it happened a few times, and he finally called my mom and talked to her and said, "You got to let him defend himself. We can't be there every time something's happening."
So after Chuck's mother was told she needed to let her son defend herself, she gave it the green light. After all, the bullying wasn't going to miraculously disappear overnight. So Liddell was taken to his grandfather, who taught him a thing or two, and the young bully now had a problem on his hands.
So she took me to my grandfather and had him teach me some straight punches and started throwing punches. And, as far as defending myself, the rest is history. I've been a...
If there's a list of UFC fighters you don't want to accidentally have a confrontation with, Sean Strickland may be at the very top. And things went terribly for this drunk guy who almost got a bullet in the head. It all started when, according to Strickland, the guy in question was trying to outrun some security guards from a club he was at after allegedly fighting with a girl. And the second he was picked up by Strickland's security camera, you could see just how wasted this dude was.
So he was driving drunk. He stomped out a girl. Oh my God. Oh, a security guard saw him stomp out a girl. He jumped into his car and drove off. Security followed him. He hit a curb, completely shredded his tire, drove on the rim for a while, then jumped out and tried to hide at Sean Strickland's house.
After tripping up and stumbling around, the man decides hiding between these two vehicles is his best bet to evade the security guards. But he had a much bigger problem on his hands. He had just stumbled onto the property of perhaps the craziest fighter in the UFC.
He was sitting at home, his Ring video went off, and as I say, this is Sean Strickland's dream. He's looking on the video, he's looking at it, and some guy stumbles onto his driveway, and Sean is like, "Oh my God, I've hit the lottery. Here we go, baby. Let's get the gun. Let's go."
Gun in hand, Strickland walked to his driveway like a man on a mission. Sean believed the trespasser was trying to steal his car, so he immediately pointed the gun at his face. And when the drama spilled over into the middle of the street, Strickland pushed the guy down and continued to point the gun at him. There's bad karma, and then there's being seconds away from death, courtesy of Sean Strickland.
He was such a cunt. He was such a cunt that the universe guided him to the absolute worst place he could ever be while he just did those things. Yeah. Stomped out a girl, drove drunk, smashed his car into a curb, ditched it, tried to hide at the absolute wrong spot.
And before we get to our next story, we'd massively appreciate it if anyone enjoying the video could go and hit the subscribe button. It just takes a couple of seconds, but let us know you're a fan of the videos and that we should continue making them. While Sean Strickland may be the most frightening UFC fighter to have a run-in with, on the opposite side, someone who could, but hopefully won't hurt you, is Ryan Hall. But for this guy, he did end up unconscious thanks to the jiu-jitsu expert.
Let him out. Yo, hey! After the police. Stay on the side. Just stay on the side.
The story began with Ryan Hall out in a pizzeria with some family and friends. Everything was normal until a drunk customer started creating a scene.
Nose off, dude. I have gotten 302'd 4 times. Joe, I've been in a mental institution 4 fucking times. Get the fuck off.
I'm shocked.
Get out. Get out.
After being aggressive with almost everyone in the room, he turned his attention to Ryan Hall. Clearly, the MMA meme of Ryan Hall looking like one of the least dangerous fighters came true, because little did he know, he was picking a fight with one of the greatest BJJ specialists in the history of MMA. Ryan remained calm, but once the guy got a bit too close to his face, the BJJ world champion had no choice but to get physical.
Ryan, let's get him. All right. She's not Meredith. Stop.
Looks like a wrestler. He's a wrestler? He's fine.
Choke crossover. Come on.
After a while, Ryan decided to let him back to his feet, but still, the guy wouldn't calm down, wouldn't leave the pizzeria, and in fact was acting more crazy. Hall then left the restaurant, pulled the man out the door, and choked him unconscious in just a matter of seconds.
No. Let's not. Ooh. Hi, kid. Don't do that. Put him to sleep. Don't wake up. He'll be fine. Let him out. Yo. Hey. After for police. Stay on the side. Stay on the side, all right? No, it's not him.
The police turned up shortly, and that was that. If you pick a fight with someone and their friends continue to eat while they laugh at you, the guy has cauliflower ears and he calmly proclaims to the room he won't hurt anyone, you seriously picked the wrong guy. And although that person was fortunate that Ryan Hall didn't do any real damage, the same can't be said for this Brazilian thief who tried to rob a female UFC fighter without knowing.
From the you never know who you're messing with file, a would-be Brazilian thief, this guy figured he had the perfect target. Her, a 5'4", 115-pound woman standing alone on a Rio street corner.
UFC strawweight Poliana Viana was outside her apartment block in Rio de Janeiro when a mugger approached her, gun in hand, asking for her phone. Without having any idea, the guy was the only one in danger. Because according to Viana, she threw 2 punches, a high kick, got him in a rear naked choke, and waited for the police to be alerted. But judging by the look of his battered face, it might have been more than just a couple punches and a kick. It turned out the gun was actually a fake, made entirely of cardboard. In the end, the Brazilian police deemed that Viana was acting in self-defense, and that was that. So not only did this guy fail to steal a phone, he got battered by a female UFC fighter, his photo plastered everywhere online, and ended up getting taken by the police. All in all, it was a pretty bad day. And speaking about bad days, this college footballer went toe-to-toe with a UFC fighter in a street fight after he brutally knocked out a girl. Back in 2010, videos went viral showing this jacked, athletic-looking guy sucker punching a girl and dropping her to the floor.
Yeah, dude, I got everything.
The guy actually turned out to be a linebacker for the Texas Longhorns, so considering his size and strength, nobody wanted to be the first to stand up to him. But in stepped former UFC lightweight Roger Huerta. If you don't know who Huerta is, he was a top UFC lightweight in the 2000s and is still competing professionally now despite being in his 40s. He actually holds the joint UFC record for most wins in a calendar year, so in short, he's a bit of a savage. So Huerta confronted the guy after he sucker punched a girl, and presumably the college footballer sized up a 5'9" lighter weight guy and thought it would be easy work. But he couldn't have been more wrong. The footage is a bit messy, but you can see the guy getting his head stomped for his troubles. The guy never pressed charges against Huerta and probably learned to never judge a book by its cover. And finally, the man who alongside Huerta holds the record for the most UFC wins in a calendar year, Kevin Holland, and his run-in with a car thief. It started when just 2 days after Holland co-main evented a UFC fight night, and Kevin was driving around like normal, only to see a guy steal a car and speed off.
I was driving down the street, some guy comes zooming out the parking lot, some guy's running behind him. He's like, yo, he stole my car. So I was like, yo, I've been quarantined for a week, you know, I didn't get to finish my fight, so let's go have a little fun. I bust a U-turn, start going after the guy.
The thief actually crashed the car twice and totaled it while trying to escape. It meant he had no choice but to get out and flee on foot, but Kevin Holland was on his tail. And considering his long, tall, and athletic frame, I'd imagine Holland is no slouch when it comes to a 100-meter dash.
I'm chasing down after him, and he like reaches down because I goes like this. I don't know if he's saying stop, what? I go like this coffee mug, and then hit him with a little sweep, get on top, knee on belly, hit him with a little, Khabib scarf hold. He was like, I can't breathe. So that's when I picked him up, put him on the curb.
The police eventually arrived and took over, with Kevin being the hero of the story. And funnily enough, Holland actually has a track record of fighting crime in his neighborhood. Within the space of just a few months in 2022, he took down this car thief, choked out a gunman in a sushi restaurant, caught another thief in a liquor store, and helped rescue the driver of an 18-wheeler that had overturned. And from one outspoken UFC to another, here's the story when a guy pushed his limits with Donald Cowboy Cerrone. Whether it's motorcycling, deep-sea diving, or bull riding, Cerrone is a bit of a wild guy, and inside the octagon was no different. You name a UFC record, Cowboy is probably near the top.
He has the most wins in the sport. He has the most wins by finish. He has the most bonuses. I mean, come on. He has the most fights.
And this incident began when one very dumb guy took issue with Cowboy's boat.
We're up at Grand Lake. The reason I go to Grand Lake is it's freezing cold. No one goes to Grand Lake to wakeboard because it's cold. People don't like cold water.
Whether it was jealousy or who knows what, the guy reported to the police that Cowboy was taking care of his boat.
He called it massaging and making love to my boat because, yeah, it's an expensive boat. I fucking take care of it, wax it, make sure it's clean, and
he's upset that you take care of your boat?
I guess that's what the police report said. So he, my buddy Mikey's fishing off the back of his boat, off the back of my boat. The guy comes in, woo, having fun, playing. He has like a Ski-Doo jet ski boat. And he comes feet away and like sprays water up on Mikey, washes my boat up onto the rocks.
Now bear in mind, Cowboy had a bunch of other fighters on the boat. Immediately they wanted to get payback. But after letting the situation die down, the guy was still talking smack an hour later, and then he made a grave error.
No one's running the gas or the steering wheel. He's headed straight towards my boat. His boat binks into the side of my boat straight on T-bones me and bounces off. And I'm like, oh my God, you just slammed into my boat. Mother, right? I'm pissed. And he goes, what? Shit, I'm about to do it again.
And while he didn't slam into Cowboy's boat for a second time, he drenched them in water instead.
He's like wasted drunk. Tears off, flips a bitch, and comes beadlining for my boat. Now, had this not been the situation we were in, I would have congratulated this dude for the most epic fucking water spray I have ever seen thrown into another person's boat, because at the last second he cuts and throws the most massive wave that just drenches everyone's phone and just like hits you like a tidal wave.
At that point, Cowboy, his partner, and everyone else on the boat said enough is enough. Everyone got off their boats, and it was only going to end one way.
He comes straight from my girl, gets off his boat, pointing his finger at her, So I just walk right past, step in front of him. I just front teep him in his stomach, like set him down in the sand. Like, chill the fuck out. A lot of crazy gorilla pounding this dude in the sand is going through my mind.
Right.
I was restraining myself, and the dude gets up and tries to hit me with the old sneaker right hand.
Oh, God.
So I just slip, and I head kick him lightly, Joe. When I say lightly, it was very lightly.
After that, the dude immediately called the police, and Cowboy was the one in trouble.
Calls the cops, they come, go to jail. 2.5 years this took. 2.5 years.
Cowboy had to spend the night in prison, with the legal case taking 2.5 years. In the end, he had to go to court, where he was thankfully found not guilty of felony assault. But it just goes to show how one drunk guy can potentially ruin your entire career and life. And for this next incident, well, it didn't go well yet again for this drunk individual. It involves MMA fighter and legendary kickboxer Joe Schilling, and while he never made it to the UFC, his striking was levels above the majority of people in the sport, which this guy found out all too well. The wild situation really escalated out of nowhere. A drunk guy unknowingly stepped in Schilling's way. He pushed him aside pretty abruptly. The two came face to face, and that was that. When the police arrived, the guy claimed that Schilling attacked him for no reason whatsoever, which wasn't entirely true.
He snuffed me for no reason. Like, I was doing nothing, man. He clocked me.
What do you
He's
look
a
like?
huge guy, bro.
What do you look like?
You go to
White guy, black guy?
White guy, sitting there like that.
How tall was he?
6'5" at least.
How much do you think he weighed?
Fucking 270, man. I boxed for 13 years, man. I know how much people weigh, man.
And although he wasn't too far off with his height estimate, as Joe Schilling is 6'3", he certainly isn't 290 pounds. For most of his career, Schilling fought at 185 pounds. When the clip went viral, Schilling claimed he was only acting in self-defense.
No, I did nothing wrong, and I'll stand by that.
And also standing by the self-defense.
100%, 100%.
And when the incident did go to court, the judge ruled in Schilling's favor of self-defense, accepting the claim that the pro fighter saw an attack coming his way and neutralized the threat. The reaction among MMA fans was split, but a lot of people leaned towards the idea that the guy had it coming.
You gotta understand, this was the end of a long. He was fucking with Joe and everybody else the whole
That guy tried
time.
suing Joe and Joe won.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's Florida. It's stand your ground. Like, clearly a guy flinched.
Yeah.
Like, went like that to make him flinch. And you don't do that to a guy that's a fucking trained striker.
From one bar fight to another, here's the time when former UFC lightweight Melvin Gillard knocked out 3 dudes in just as many months. Despite having 22 UFC fights to his name, the first incident came when Melvin was working as a bouncer at a bar in Colorado. The clip starts with his colleagues throwing a guy out of the bar for presumably causing trouble. In the midst of some commotion, another man in a red shirt approaches the bar shouting at someone. That's when the UFC fighter steps in the way and begins pushing him away. Clearly something had happened because Melvin laid the guy out cold. Then, just a few months later, Gillard was in the news again for another bar fight. This time not as a bouncer, but instead just on a night out. It was almost 2 a.m., a time in the club where literally nothing good has ever happened, as these two guys found out. They approached Melvin, postured up, clenched their fists, and were laughing at him, and he wiped the smiles off their faces pretty easily. If you're going to pick a bar fight, maybe the guy with the most knockdowns in UFC lightweight history isn't the person to mess with. But that's not where the story ends. Melvin was charged with 6 different charges for the 2 incidents and faced a serious threat of years behind bars. Thankfully for him, he struck a plea deal with the prosecutors and avoided jail time. On the topic of club bouncers, we know they have a reputation for being a bit hands-on with customers. And a group of bouncers in Sweden tried that with former UFC heavyweight champion Bas Rutten, and it didn't end well.
It's the bouncers. The bouncers really think that they can do something, and I don't know why. Maybe it is because they got more of them, and they think, you know.
So they give you shit. They want to
They
test
give you shit.
themselves because they know
try
who
to
you
test
are.
you. It's all, yeah.
Do you find do you find that because of you have such a reputation, do you find that like guys get drunk and then they want to test themselves with you? Does that happen?
I had that till that whole bar fight in Sweden happened. And after that, for some reason, I never had it anymore.
In the club, Bas was having a good time, dancing, making friends, being silly, but at least in the bouncer's eyes, it was too much.
I'm jumping around and having fun, you know, hey, what's up, everybody, you know, I mean, man, I tried to make friends with everybody, tried to speak Swedish, you know, and they say, can you come with us? So we go to these 2 doors, through these 2 doors, and there's a big fire stairs, like a marble stairs, giant. And he says, well, we want you to leave. I said, why? I said, well, you're too much energy, you're flopping around, it's not good, you're bothering the customers. I said, sure, okay.
Being the nice guy that he is, Bas agreed to leave the club, but wanted the bouncers to grab his friend and explain what had happened. Of course, this was pre-iPhone days, so he couldn't just text his companion to meet him outside.
They didn't expect that. They thought I was going to do something, of course, so he pushes me. And I said, now why would you push me? I said, I want to go. It's okay, you know, I don't want any trouble. And he started putting his finger on my chest, which is something I really can't stand, right? So I said, okay, don't touch me, because if if you do that again, it's going to go wrong.
But the bouncers were looking for trouble and kept provoking Bass. Ultimately, he had enough.
And there I went, boom, and that guy went down. He went down like one punch. I've never seen anything. I heard him over the music. Oh, I heard that. Yeah, that was the wildest thing ever. And then they had these little microphones, right? So I don't know, but fast. It was 4 or 5 guys. And they start fighting. And the guy that I knocked out constantly, because he would wake up.
Bass had knocked out so many bouncers that they were waking up, getting back in the fight, and getting knocked out again. In the end, the police came, Bass went to jail for a couple of nights, and was eventually let go. We could probably make an entire video dedicated to Boss Ridgen's legendary street fight stories. After all, the guy has a section in his Wikipedia page dedicated to street fights. He might be the greatest street fighter in UFC history. And speaking of the greatest UFC fighters, let's turn our attention to the time someone tried to burgle John Jones's house. It started when John was at home and his Ring doorbell went off in the middle of the night.
I'm chilling like 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm thinking I'm playing like Madden or something, and my phone goes off, my Ring doorbell. And thank goodness I have really good reception. Immediately it goes off right as this guy hits my property line. And normally I kind of ignore it in the middle of the night because it could be a cat or anything. Like it could be wind sometimes. And this time I said, let me check. Let me not get complacent. Let me check.
And after seeing a guy on his driveway, John immediately went and grabbed his gun. Although, being perhaps the most dominant fighter in UFC history, he would have been just fine with his fists.
I ran out to my garage, I pick up a shotgun, a bird gun.
Gun in hand, John chased the guy out of the driveway, which, no doubt, would have been the most frightening experience in that thief's life. John held the guy at gunpoint until the police came, and luckily for this guy, he didn't get shot at because this situation could have ended terribly. And for our next clip, it's yet another car thief, but this guy got a lot closer to getting away with it. It began when former UFC welterweight Jordan Williams went into a convenience store to grab a quick drink. He left his car running, assuming it would be fine because the vehicle can't move unless the keys are within 5 feet of the car. On the CCTV footage, you can see the second William enters the store. An opportunist car thief takes his chances.
I saw this gentleman inside my car. And he started to pull back. And I saw looking, we locked eyes as I'm running up to him. And the look that this fool gave me was like I got your car, like this is happening. I'm driving away with your car.
So immediately, Williams ran up to his car and just as the guy was about to get away, managed to open the door and pull him out. Williams hit him with a few knees from the clinch, threw the guy out of his car, and he ran away like his life depended on it. If you're going to steal someone's car, it's probably wise to see if they look like the fighting type before you go for it.
There's only one car in the lot, and it's a guy that could literally tear you apart with his hands.
I'm so happy you said that, Renee. I just looked this up. So there are 328 million people in the United States. There are about 600 UFC fighters. So he really picked the wrong car. Now, I think this guy who was allegedly trying to steal a car is lucky. I think Jordan probably could have hurt him worse if he wanted to. He obviously could have. He didn't want to, though, so I think he is lucky.
And finally, the UFC lightweight Jared Gordon and his BJJ friend took on 2 guys in the street. According to Gordon, he was outside a barber shop with his friend who had just spotted someone he teaches jiu-jitsu to. As they were chatting, 2 random guys approached with their hoods up and clearly had a problem with this guy. Then they pushed him, spat at him, and even swung on him, but when they pushed Gordon's friend, that was when they decided to take matters into their own hands. In the midst of the chaos, the barbershop window smashed, with Gordon needing 21 stitches on his hand while he was in the middle of a training camp. Funnily enough, the guy they actually had a problem with ran away, so Jared Gordon and his friend fought these 2 complete strangers for no reason at all. Of course, they handled business with relative ease, but it just shows how quickly something can escalate. When it comes to UFC fighters getting into trouble outside the octagon, one name seems to appear time and time again: Conor McGregor. Whether it's Italian DJs, old men in pubs, or Irish gang members, Conor McGregor has been involved in a lot of fights that aren't on his record. And as the biggest star in MMA, he's pretty much untouchable.
Now this is who you're trying to routinely get into conflicts with. Dude, something's wrong with you.
He goes from one drama to another, knocks out random people, breaks celebrities' noses, and seemingly does whatever he wants. And no matter what, it always ends badly for whoever is in his way. So these are the times strangers tried to fight Conor McGregor. In 2019, Conor McGregor had begun going a little off the rails. He just lost the big grudge match to Khabib, had the whole bus incident, and news soon broke of yet another drama. Video footage of McGregor attacking a 50-year-old man at the Marble Arch pub in Dublin went viral. The story was that McGregor offered everyone in the pub a shot of his proper 12 whiskey, but the guy in question refused, saying he didn't want to drink McGregor's whiskey, and in McGregor's mind, that warranted him receiving a sucker punch.
You are a pro fighter anytime and you start using your pro fighting skills against civilians, against mere mortals who are not threatening you, who are not posing any immediate, like you're not defending yourself or somebody else. It's not like, you know, somebody stopping a carjacking, stopping a crime in progress using their martial arts skills. You're just bullying.
Somehow, the guy took a clean left hand from Conor McGregor and remained on his stool, having barely flinched. McGregor later appeared in court, pleading guilty and being fined over $1,000, which is essentially nothing to him. But weirdly enough, that wasn't the end of the story. 2 years later, Conor McGregor bought the exact same pub for around $1.5 million and took to Twitter to let the world know that the guy he punched wouldn't be allowed in. In response, the man said McGregor was a bully with a lot of money and that he had no intention of going back to the pub if Conor was the owner anyway. Conor tried to knock the pub down and turn it into a large apartment building, but his plans were rejected. From what we can see, the pub has been closed for numerous years. But speaking of alcohol, it usually plays a central part to Conor's drama, just like the time he fought an Italian DJ and broke his nose. It was late 2021, and Conor McGregor alongside his partner Dee Devlin were in Rome to get their son baptized at the Vatican. Of course, being such a wholesome, family-oriented and religious trip, you'd imagine nothing could go wrong. But this is Conor McGregor we're talking about after all. A story broke that Conor had broken the nose of a famous Italian DJ and TV personality, Francesco Facchinetti, at a party.
The two were hanging out after McGregor had one of his children baptized at the Vatican, if you can believe that.
Wow.
And everything was fine and it was going well, and then I guess McGregor had invited the DJ to another party, and when he said yes, he punched him in the face, according to the Italian DJ's girlfriend.
According to the victim, he and his partner were chatting to Conor and Dee for over 2 hours at this party. They spoke about everything from Italy, yachts, music, and much more.
And after 30 minutes, Mr. McGregor went inside the room and we screamed, "Hey! Conor, nice to meet you. Francesco, she's my wife, Vilma," and if everything was perfect, you know, a perfect night. We spent more than 2 hours speak about everything.
But apparently, once the party was beginning to end, Conor started getting a bit agitated, especially so when American actress Bella Thorne said they had to leave. He then invited Francesco to another party, but when the Italian accepted, Conor randomly punched him in the face without warning.
When your brain turned off immediately, in 1 second, and he punched me in my face. It's like that, okay? We are speaking, you know, imagine if you are in front of me and you speak with me for 2 hours and chilling and smiling, and I punch you after 2 hours, out of the blue.
The DJ suffered a broken nose, split lip, and a concussion, all from the single strike. In response, Francesco pressed charges against McGregor in Italy. He claimed he wasn't after the money, but just wanted to highlight that Conor was unhinged, dangerous, and not to be trusted. In the end, the investigation went cold and McGregor got away with it again. But while these stories were years in the past, Conor was recently involved in yet another incident where he attacked a guy in a club. In June 2025, McGregor flew his entire football team out to the Spanish party island of Ibiza to celebrate winning their local league title. Yes, Conor is playing recreational football every weekend in Ireland instead of fighting professionally. He was pictured in the island's most notorious destination, Ocean Beach Club, with its owner, TV personalities, Premier League football stars, and more. But while on that trip, perhaps that very same evening, McGregor threw 2 punches and floored a man at 6 a.m. in the world-famous nightclub Pacha. It turns out, this guy was an employee at the very same beach club Conor was at. We're not entirely sure why Conor decided to throw a punch, but he did post a cryptic message on Twitter that suggests the man said something against his home country of Ireland. It's unfortunately yet another case of Conor McGregor out partying, away from his family, and up to no good.
Look at the state of this man. His rap sheet on the number of incidents, we just went over the Ibiza one, but his rap sheet on the number of incidents beyond that is extensive at this point. And by the way, there do appear to be, at least in the case of this one or the guy he punched in a bar or something else, just commonalities where, or how about the Italian DJ that he hauled off on and messed up out of nowhere? There are, again, allegedly, there just appears to be, real signs that this guy's got a hair trigger. He'll punch people at the drop of a hat.
Currently, no charges have been pressed by the other gentleman, and this incident will just be swept under the rug like so many others, much like when he tried to fight music star Machine Gun Kelly. Back in 2021, both men were at the VMA Music Awards. The two didn't know each other, with their only prior interaction being that MGK often attends UFC events and was even in the crowd for one of Conor's previous fights. But that was soon all about to change, because videos surfaced of McGregor who tried to attack the rapper, throw a punch, and launch a drink at him.
Yeah, we know that.
At the time, Conor was still on a cane following his leg break, and you can see how close he came to almost falling over as a result. According to the rumors, Conor asked Machine Gun Kelly for a photo, but for whatever reason was refused.
There's a rumor that, and I don't buy this in any facet, there's a rumor that Conor asked Machine Gun Kelly for a picture. Machine Gun Kelly turned him down, and then one of his security guards got overzealous, bumped into Conor, spilled a drink, and then obviously Conor McGregor freaked out. The other thing is they just had words, and one of Machine Gun Kelly's people got too crazy and bumped into Conor, spilled the drink, and Conor thought it was Machine Gun Kelly and then went after him.
And of course, McGregor's ego got the better of him, so he decided attacking MGK was an appropriate response. The situation calmed down pretty quickly, with both men ending up on stage at separate times, with Conor giving an award away and MGK performing. But later on that evening, Conor tried to dismiss the situation, saying he only fights real fighters.
What happened?
Absolutely nothing. I don't know. I just showed up and I don't know. I don't even know the guy, to be honest with you.
Just rumors?
Just rumours. Nothing happened with me. I only fight real fighters, people that actually fight, you know what I mean? I certainly don't fight little vanilla boy rappers. I don't even know the guy. I don't know anything about him, except that he's with Megan Fox.
Given all the stories we've highlighted so far, saying he only fights real fighters is rather ironic. He's probably fortunate his leg was broken and his movement compromised, because if he actually punched MGK with hundreds of cameras on him, it could have ended very badly. But outside of the odd drunken tweet that Conor eventually deletes, the drama between the two was thankfully limited to just this one evening. And speaking of McGregor saying he only fights real fighters, we have to mention both the UFC 223 bus incident and the 229 brawl. While not a street fight per se, we all know how this one played out. It was UFC 223 in Brooklyn, and Conor's soon-to-be rival Khabib Nurmagomedov was caught on camera intimidating his then teammate Artem Lobov. In response, Conor hopped on a plane with a bunch of friends, broke into the arena, tracked down Khabib, and it all kicked off. But the big collateral damage was that the glass cut both Michael Chiesa and Ray Borg's face, who were supposed to fight just a day or two later. They had to be pulled from their fight, as did Artem Lobov for being involved in the situation. It was probably the wildest fight week in UFC history, and Dana White was not happy.
Everybody's shaken up when 30 thugs storm a, these guys are all cutting weight and getting ready for a fight. This is the most disgusting thing that has ever happened in the history of the company. And there is a warrant out for Conor McGregor's arrest, and they're looking for him right now. His plane cannot take off. He cannot leave the state of New York.
McGregor was charged with 3 counts of assault amongst other things. He was released on a $50,000 bail, had to attend anger management classes, and perform community service. But maybe his future opponent Khabib should have joined him at anger management, because after their fight, the Russian's emotions definitely got the better of him. And while Khabib initiated the brawl, trouble came Conor McGregor's way whether he wanted it or not. Both the UFC fighter Zubaira and then PFL fighter Abubakar Nurmagomedov climbed the octagon to attack McGregor. Despite being tired and having just lost a 4-round fight, Conor still managed to land some serious shots of his own. Funnily enough, Abubakar, who goes by the nickname Manap, came out of the ordeal with a big black eye of his own.
He got punched on the cage, and he had a black eye. He had a black eye. So he came to practice on Monday. I go, hey, he's what? What, brother, what? I said, Conor McGregor went upside your head, huh? He was mad at me because he had the biggest black eye. He kind of got him with a good one. On the side of the octagon, exhausted, he got him with a good one because Manap had a big old black eye. I said, Conor went upside your head, huh? He's like, brother, don't say this, please.
In the end, McGregor was fined $50,000 and suspended for 6 months, which actually seems pretty harsh considering he didn't do much outside of defending himself. Khabib, on the other hand, had to pay $500,000 for starting perhaps the craziest post-fight moment in UFC history. But someone else who unexpectedly felt the full force of Conor McGregor's left hand was former boxing world champion Paulie Malignaggi. Ahead of fighting Floyd Mayweather in a super fight, Conor needed some real boxing experience. As a result, he organized for former world champion Paulie Malignaggi to spar him as a litmus test for his ability and conditioning. But in combat sports, there's an unwritten rule. What happens in the gym stays in the gym. It's an unsaid code that fighters almost always follow. But in this situation, Team McGregor did the exact opposite, posting a very short clip of Conor's spar with Paulie. And of course, it was one that made their guy look dominant.
I didn't think it was really that quick, but he's very quick with it. That's his bread and butter.
For Malignaggi, this was incredibly embarrassing. The fact that he got knocked down was bad enough, but for it to be posted everywhere and used as fight promotion is a true slap in the face. Paulie claimed that he was under the impression he was just going to have a light spar with Conor. Then when the fight actually began, Malignaggi said he felt ambushed by McGregor's true intentions of making an example out of him.
Fresh off the plane, and then he sparred 12 rounds. So he's like, they just did me dirty, man. That's his whole thing. His feelings are hurt. He's like, why would they do that, man? I was here to help him.
Well, they did that. That's the kind of help they wanted. They just wanted the kind of help that he didn't want to give. They wanted the kind of help where Conor beats the fuck out of a world champion.
Correct, and that's what Conor said, though.
Yeah.
Like, in Conor's defense, when they go, oh, you're bringing Paulie in, he goes, yeah, I'm bringing, he says on Showtime during the media scrum, he goes, yeah, I'm bringing him in to fuck him up.
Both men claim they beat the brakes off one another, and it of course caused a huge rift between the two men. So with Paulie working for Showtime, a promoter of Conor's fight with Floyd, the two ran into each other numerous times, and there was too much water under the bridge.
Did you bring your balls? Did you bring your balls, Conor? Remember, did you bring your balls, Conor? Get over it. Did you bring your balls, Conor? Did you bring your balls, Conor? All sparring. Remember what I said? When you quit like a bitch, Saturday. I'm a fighter, relax. Bring your balls Saturday, pussy. Remember what I said in the gym. Remember what I said in the gym?
The two never ended up having an actual boxing match, but instead Paulie took on Conor's former teammate Artem Lobov in a bare-knuckle boxing fight on his behalf. And somehow, someway, the journeyman MMA fighter was able to beat a two-time world boxing champion in bare-knuckle to settle their beef for good.
Only, all score of the fight, 48-47, to the winner, by unanimous decision, Artem, the Russian Hammer!
But outside of the octagon or boxing ring, Conor McGregor has had some serious run-ins with a notorious Irish drug cartel that even led to a rumored price tag put on his head. In Ireland, and specifically the area of Crumlin where McGregor grew up, one family name rules supreme, the Kinahans. They're a world-renowned drug gang with an estimated net worth of over $1 billion and have been behind dozens of murders.
The Kinahan Transnational Criminal Organization joins the ranks of Italy's Camorra, Mexico's Los Zetas, Japan's Yakuza, and Russia's Thieves-in-Law.
With a rival clan, which has caused almost 20 murders across Europe since 2016.
Through growing up in the same areas, going to the same boxing gyms, McGregor and links to the Kinahan family have popped up throughout the years. But in 2017, rumors started circulating that McGregor had a pub brawl with someone closely associated with the Kinahan gang. Some media outlets speculated that the cartel had put a bounty on McGregor's head for around $1 million.
People that I know in Dublin and that are blowing me up are saying, dude, it's real. Conor's in a bit of trouble because he has a friend from one area of Ireland that's in this mafia and that got beat up by these guys. Conor finds out the guys who beat up his friend are in this bar, so Conor comes in there, beats the hell out of that guy. Well, that guy's associated with this, pretty intense mafia family over there, so now there's a hit out on Conor is what they're saying.
What?
Yes, for 900 grand.
Of course, no one tried to collect that bounty, and rumor or not, something was clearly going on because McGregor posted a tongue-in-cheek tweet claiming he is the cartel. After that, the situation died down and McGregor is actually friendly with the Kinahan group. His sister was partnered with a convicted drug dealer and money launderer with close ties to the Kinahans. He's even been pictured partying in his pub with a man convicted for being the getaway driver for a murder carried out by the cartel. So it seems like nowadays they're more friends than foe. And on the entirely opposite end of the spectrum, he's the time Conor McGregor sent a basketball mascot to the hospital. It was Game 4 of the NBA Finals and McGregor was in attendance to watch the Miami Heat. The plan was to have a little pretend play fight between the two in order to promote McGregor's new pain relief spray, but it went a little further than just a skit.
I mean, what are those mascot things made out of, unless you're like the Golden Knights mascot, I wouldn't be, I don't even know what the hell he wears, but I'm assuming it's a metal helmet. I wouldn't have professional fighters punching me in the face if I was a mascot. And doesn't seem like the brightest thing in the world.
He hit the poor mascot with two huge left hands and ended up being booed by the crowd. And unsurprisingly, the guy behind the mascot outfit was actually hurt and had to go to the hospital to make sure everything was all okay. It just goes to show that even in an organized fake fight with Conor McGregor with a costume of padding, you're not safe from his wild ways. If there's a list of UFC fighters you don't want to anger, Nate Diaz is somewhere near the top. Whether it's brawls in the crowd, street fights, or launching bottles at Conor McGregor, Diaz isn't someone to mess with.
You.
But for some reason, the streamer called Neon decided to find Nate Diaz and get under his skin. For context, he's the classic clickbaity, do-anything-for-review streamer. He faked his own death, faked his own views, and so much more. And one of Neon's searches for clout led him to a Nate Diaz press conference prior to his boxing match with Jorge Masvidal. Strangely enough, his first question was very normal and professional.
First up and coming when you were boxing, who really made you want to become one of the greats?
First and foremost, my brother, my big brother, was fucking doing a lot of good shit and putting me on the game with a lot of people. I liked Mike Tyson, Roy Jones.
But then everything turned. Neon asked Nate Diaz if he'd retire when he got knocked out, not if.
When you do get knocked out, are you going to retire?
Who said that? So I know who you are.
Or
that
if,
little boy, you little
if you do. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm going to be watching. I'm excited to see both sides, but...
And of course, Diaz had a lot to say in return.
I'm going to kick you in your leg. Hey, P.S. you.
I have a lot of respect for everyone, man. It's just, I want to see a great fight.
You. He said when you get knocked out, right? It's little kids like this little
talking in this motherfucker that is like changing the times. Need your little ass whoop. I got little girls over here that'll f you up.
After Nate's verbal assault, seemingly that was that. But little did Neon know that was only the start of their confrontation. Because after the press conference, Neon had to run quite literally for his life after what looked like someone from Nate Diaz's team tried to chase him down.
I'm sorry.
Neon managed to escape with his tail between his legs, but I'm sure he won't be asking any more stupid questions like that in the future. While Nate Diaz is definitely not the person to cause drama with, one of the few fighters who might be even worse is Sean Strickland, and the streamer Sneeko can vouch firsthand. If you don't know Sneeko, the Wikipedia equivalent for YouTubers describes him as a far-right internet personality known for promoting anti-Semitic views and being associated with Andrew Tate. So in short, he's a controversial figure who says wild stuff for clicks.
There's a whole month we're celebrating men putting their penises in men's buttholes.
Okay,
like, you know how weird it is?
Wow.
That's what Pride Month is.
Bro, but
I'm proud to put a penis in a man's butt. What the?
And one of his adventures ended up with him being locked inside a cage with Sean Strickland of all people. It started with Sneeko saying some stuff online, Strickland inviting him to spar expecting him to decline, only for the streamer to say yes. Within seconds, Strickland was trash talking like he does.
Think about if you knocked me out, how cool that would look for your, you could actually accomplish something by doing nothing. They should be setting it in right now that nothing you can do can hurt me. And this is a moment that as you're realizing, you're about to have a really bad fucking day in the next minute.
And after about 3 minutes of Sean just walking Sneeko down and not even throwing any punches of his own, Strickland decided to show him who's boss.
There you go.
Oh. Jesus.
Pop your jab. You still good? Good.
Despite numerous towels being thrown in, Strickland continued, leaving Sneeko bloodied and battered. Strickland was so aggressive that it actually caused a huge stir in the MMA community.
I thought it was fucked up.
I didn't think it was fucked up at all. I'm like, what do you expect?
His corner threw in the towel. Well, yeah, if someone came in here and wanted me to fucking peck around with them because I'm a professional, I'm a champ, and they want to get a little taste of what it's like, I'm not going to... Did you see how hard he was trying to hurt him?
The majority of people weren't a fan of seeing how hard Strickland went, but after all, what did Sneeko really expect?
I don't know what that kid thought. First of all, he's so silly for doing that, for agreeing to do that with Sean Strickland. Like,
because you know that he's never going to have that hold back.
If you agree to do that with Israel Adesanya, Israel Adesanya will take care of you. I swear to God, he'll pop you a little bit and let you know that you're helpless, but he won't fuck you up.
Either way, though, Sneeko learned the consequences of messing with a UFC fighter the hard way. And while that outcome was somewhat expected with a guy like Sean Strickland, a fighter you'd expect to be more calm is the young star Raul Rosas Jr. After all, he's known for being a funny, relaxed, and cool guy. But for the YouTuber who tried to prank him, it ended terribly. It all started when Rosas Jr. was in a gym with his friends just getting some work in on the treadmill. Then the prankster who knew who Raul was, a UFC fighter, started causing trouble.
You guys know this guy? He's using my treadmill, homie.
What do you mean your treadmill, bro?
Huh?
What do you mean your treadmill, bro?
I run here every day at this time, my boy.
There's another treadmill.
Nah, I use this specific one, homie. You could ask the gym owner, my boy. He's using my shit right now.
We're working out, bro. You use the homework. What's your treadmill, bro?
Can he move, my boy? Because I'm using this one, homie.
Rosas Jr. was initially pretty calm. He moved away from the cocky YouTuber with his friends, warning him that he should probably stop antagonizing them.
You don't want no problems. Okay, so come out there. Oh, please, come out, bro. I don't want to have problems either, homie. The homie's looking at me.
You don't know who I am, bro.
Huh?
You don't know who I am, bro.
I can't hear you, homie.
You don't know who I am, bro.
I don't care who you are, my boy.
What's the problem, bro?
What's the issue?
No, bro, he's working out, bro. Please, por favor. Déjalo, bro.
I understand that, my boy. He was using my treadmill. Now he's looking at me like what?
Huh? I hope you're joking.
Does it look like I'm joking, my boy?
And of course, the guy continued to be a pest. He followed Raul around the gym, got in his way, and even tried to take the dumbbells he was using. After a while, Raul's patience wore thin, and he hit the guy.
Hey bro, is this some type of joke or something, bro? Like you think we're funny or something, bro?
What do you mean?
Yo, get out, bro. You've been following us this whole time. This is a terrible time, bro. Terrible time.
I'm here for the boxing.
Homie? Yeah, bro.
Hey, chill, bro. Bro, relax, my boy. What's the issue, homie? I'm here to use the bag, my bro. When that got me in the face. I think that's it, fool. I think that's it, fool. That's it. I can't. Bro, that's it, fool. I can't do more.
And despite some hesitation, the prankster decided to push it and asked the UFC fighter for a light spar. As expected, the UFC fighter beat him to a pulp.
Stop. Homie, come on. Come on, bro. Why are you running? Why are you scared?
What's up, homie? What's up, fool? Hit like a bitch, fool. What's up, fool? What's up, my boy? What's up, fool? Hey, it's a video, fool. It's a video, fool. It's a video, dog. It's a video.
Despite tapping, Rosas Jr. held on to the choke.
Raul. Hey, wait, no, Raul.
Now, there is some speculation that the whole interaction was staged, but even if it was, that beating was 100% real, and whatever notions this guy had about being tough were completely erased. And to another internet personality who definitely can consider himself a fighter in any way, Aiden Ross. Aiden Ross, like many others on this video, is the classic say anything to get views internet personality. He's friends with Andrew Tate, has been banned from multiple streaming sites, and has a lot of haters. And his search for views led him to fighting Dylan Dennis. While Dennis is also an internet troll himself, he's still a super high-level BJJ fighter and has actual MMA experience. So when the two clashed for a light, friendly spar, Aiden Ross got destroyed in any which way Dylan wanted.
Really?
He even jokingly pretended to break Ross's arm.
Where are you going, bro? You good? Okay, no. Come on, I gotta be tough then. Let me break it. No, please don't. No. Think I'll break it?
No, yeah. Yes.
Who's gonna win?
You.
Yeah?
Yes.
Think I beat Jake too?
Yes!
After grappling, Dylan tried to teach him some boxing, and let's just say Aiden Ross isn't destined for fighting.
Bro, in the head. Look. In the head. Come on. As hard as you want.
Bro, Dylan.
Bro, I was on a machine.
What the fuck?
Hey, get me as much as you want. Get me in the gym. As hard as you want.
And funnily enough, Aiden Ross actually had many boxing matches with Jake Paul and Ryan Garcia in the same week, both of which went badly for the internet personality.
Come on, guys. 2-on-1. Oh, shit. Leon.
All in all, it was 3 losses in a single week, and even more people mocking how terrible his punching technique is. But he got his views, and in Aiden Ross's world, that's all that matters. And just like Aiden Ross, views are what makes Logan Paul's world go around. That, and a whole lot of cash, is why he signed on the dotted line to fight against perhaps the greatest boxer of all time, Floyd Mayweather. Neither men need any introduction, so let's jump right into the action. Of course, Logan was hoping his massive size and reach advantage mixed with his athleticism would be too much for Floyd to handle. And maybe, just maybe, he could drop a bomb on Floyd's chin and pull off the biggest upset in combat sports history.
I'm gonna fuck him up. I didn't know he was gonna go personal. Okay. I'm gonna take his hat. Okay. After this fight, I don't want anyone to tell me anything's impossible. And that's what I'm representing. I'm representing the guy who was counted out, the guy who everyone said he couldn't, the guy who believed in himself so much that his unrelenting belief in himself propelled him to success. That's me.
I feel good, and I'm gonna go out there and perform and do what I do best.
Floyd, you really want to take them both on at the same night?
Absolutely, easy. You got 2 fake fighters. A fake fighter, I'm a real fighter.
He got a lot of skill. He's also 44. He's also 160 pounds.
Look at his resume, man.
I don't give a fuck about his resume. If I let statistics rule the decisions that I made in my life, I would be nowhere.
What's up? You wanna run it 2-on-1 night? Yeah. What's up? What's up? What's up? You wanna run it 2-on-1 night?
Right in front.
You wanna run it 2-on-1 night? Absolutely.
Let's make it happen.
Let's do it.
Let's make it happen.
Let's make it happen.
But Floyd wasn't worried one bit. If you're the best defensive boxer to ever lace up a pair of gloves, why would you be? And after Logan's brother tried to cause some drama, the Paul brothers found out what happens when you mess with an actual fighter.
I want to hurt him. You know what I'm saying? Like, this shit ain't cute.
Logan. Hey, this for real. This for real.
Let's go, baby. Not your hat.
I never did nothing to you.
Not your hat.
Don't disrespect me.
So, when the multiple-time boxing world champion and the internet star stepped into the squared circle, Floyd taught Logan Paul a lesson. He boxed him up, made Logan miss with ease, and probably would have finished the fight at any moment if he wanted. Logan Paul is one controversial figure, so I'm sure a lot of his haters enjoyed watching him eat a whole load of punches. And finally, from Logan Paul to one of those pretty boys from the reality show Too Hot to Handle, Chase Damore, and the time he went toe-to-toe with the UFC vet Alan Belcher. Now, if the name Alan Belcher doesn't ring any bells, that's understandable. He retired from MMA back in 2013. But in short, he's a rough, tough veteran who had a solid UFC career, then came back to fighting in his late 30s. And it was a bit of a career resurgence. He went 5-0 in boxing, 4-0 in bare-knuckle boxing, winning the BKFC heavyweight title amongst other achievements. And in the midst of that, he had an exhibition boxing match against reality TV star turned internet personality Chase Damore. Damore is a tall, athletic guy who used to play college football, but when it comes to fighting, he had very little experience. In fact, he had only 3 boxing matches prior and hadn't won any of them. Usually, he's getting mocked for his lack of ability.
Oh, you know, look, we're still throwing oh, there's the miss swing, Jesus. Oh my gosh, we're sticking the jab, we're moving the head. You know, this is actually really elite level boxing if you think about it. Like, if I was able to maintain this.
And in his previous fights, it sounds like he doesn't take it too seriously.
Because you haven't
felt no, bro, I've been on vacation, I've been you know, hanging out at the crib, lots of burgers, lots of pizza, you know, stretching a lot. I got my Netflix in, I don't know.
So if it sounds like a massive mismatch to fight a former UFC vet, that's because it is. But credit to Damore, he accepted the match on extremely short notice, but sadly that doesn't help you when the bell rings. Immediately, Damore looked uncomfortable, was always trying to create space from Belcher, and just didn't really belong at that level. In the end, Belcher won by TKO in the 3rd round, with Damore essentially quitting after getting cracked. But if Chase has one thing, it's perseverance, because he fought 4 times in 2024 and won them all, so perhaps he's taking this whole thing a little more seriously. Paddy Pimblett taking on an Instagram troll who bravely accepted an invitation to Next Gen MMA in Liverpool.
This kid's been on me posts for the past week or 2, just talking shit. But it's funny, the last 2 days he's like been commenting back to people like, oh, I wasn't trolling, I wasn't this, and everyone just like, lad, you was. What are you on about?
It all started in December of 2022 when Paddy noticed someone in his Instagram comments routinely trash-talking him. The guy actually called Paddy out, and perhaps unsurprisingly, Paddy tried to make it happen. He offered to pay for the guy's 3-hour train journey, invited him to spar, and said he'd give him £500, which is just over $600 if he could survive.
Give him his due. He's got a set of cojones, because he's got on the train this morning, because I said to him, if you don't quit and you survive, like, we'll do unlimited rounds, and if you don't quit and survive, I'll give you the monkey. But obviously, I know he's not gonna survive.
And despite the internet troll having 0 fighting experience, he showed up, and on his first time ever in an MMA gym, was going toe-to-toe with Paddy Pimblett. It's safe to say he was a bit apprehensive.
My man turned up, lad. Paid for his train to come down from Bristol. My man's got a set of balls on him, you know. Got a set of balls, lad.
How are you feeling?
Nervous.
I got it though. Lad, it's alright, you know. Be sound.
Yeah, I know, you're sound.
He's not gonna
I want it to go hard. Need to go home humble.
But at least he was wise enough to know he stood no chance.
I watched a few YouTube videos now. It's surreal, isn't it? It's a bit surreal for me. I've never been in a gym like this before, so it's pretty cool. Get my kicked, go home, get a few pictures with Paddy. Will be good.
And as the spar began, Paddy was taking it light, and it looked like the internet troll pulled a muscle in his groin when throwing a kick. The spar was respectful, but even so, Paddy had to show his internet troll who was in charge. So he started ripping shots to the body, and after a couple of rounds and a damaged elbow, the guy said enough was enough.
Not easy at his elbow. Good.
And after it was all said and done, Paddy gave the guy 50 pounds for his efforts and had a lot of respect for him.
I can't say a bad word about him, lad. He turned up, lad. You know what I mean? Everyone, all the other people on Instagram, Paddy's this, Paddy's that. They don't turn up, lad. They talk. You know what I mean? They're all scared to turn up. See my man here? He's trolled, but then he backed it up and he turned up and he had a spar.
But while this internet troll was humble and in return was treated with respect, the same can be said for when combat sports' most notorious troll got destroyed by heavyweight boxing's hardest hitter. If you haven't heard the name of Charlie Zelenoff, let me give you the lowdown. He was the ultimate online troll in the boxing and MMA world. Zelenoff created a fake boxing promotion that he was the champion of and claimed he was undefeated with hundreds of victories. But his big thing was showing up at famous gyms, pretending to have a light spar with someone just to cheap shot them and post it online. He even tried it against Floyd Mayweather Sr. once, and it didn't go according to plan. But in 2014, he trash-talked Deontay Wilder of all people, and Zelenoff went way too far. He racially abused the soon-to-be heavyweight champion and even threatened to kidnap Wilder's disabled daughter. And somehow, someway, Zelenoff agreed to meet Wilder to settle their differences. Wilder flew across the US, had Zelenoff sign a waiver to not sue him, and battered him around the gym.
There you go, there you go, there you go.
Yeah.
Not right now. It is gonna be right now. It's on where I'm here. He's done.
It was so bad that Wilder's team had to hold him back.
Don't you ever call me a don't you ever say you gonna take my daughter around? Don't you ever say you're gonna take my daughter around?
And many years later, Wilder revealed he went to LA planning to do a lot more than just fight Zelenoff.
You know what I mean? And the devil got in me one point of time because we was in some alleys. And my voice changed. I was like, come, he was Cuz with that with me. I brought Cuz with me too.
Zelenoff, of course, claimed he won the fight, but considering the trash talk he gave Wilder, most people think he actually got off lightly. Of course, last time we saw Paddy go easy on his internet troll opponent, but this time it was the complete opposite. Recently, videos went viral of what looked like an actual fight in a gym between Paddy and another MMA fighter. It turns out that the other fighter, Dennis Frimpong, had a long back and forth on social media, with both men insulting the level of competition the other fought early in their careers. And after that series of messages, Paddy accepted the invitation from the fighter with 4-2 record and traveled to Frimpong's gym, Manchester Top Team, to settle their differences. You could tell this wasn't a sparring session. This was an actual fight. On the feet, Paddy was slightly getting the better of the action, but it was definitely close, and then when it went to the ground, Paddy carved through his rival.
Well done. He's tapping, lads. Hey! Whoa!
Holding onto the choke caused a huge controversy within the MMA world, but Frimpong actually defended Paddy. He said that because they didn't like each other, he fully expected Paddy to hold on to the choke if he got caught in one. Patty claimed the two actually agreed to no tapping and that the bout wouldn't stop until someone was unconscious. And in response to someone on Twitter asking why Frimpong tapped anyway, he joked by saying it was just instinct and that his trachea was getting crushed. It seems like the two may have resolved their problems the old-fashioned way, because Frimpong said they were planning on getting some actual training in at some point in the future. And finally, we have the internet troll slayer Kevin Holland. In early 2022, the trash-talking fan favorite took out 2 Instagram trolls in back-to-back months.
Same thing they always do, you know, they message you a bunch, they got a bunch of things to say, you know, I finally respond, and, you know, here we are, Saturday, finally pulled up to the gym, and, you know, yeah, choked him.
It first started when this guy called Jaden, a BJJ blue belt, believed he could tap out Kevin Holland, a black belt. So in response, Holland paid for his bus fare and a hotel room and invited him to roll in a gym. Let's just say it took Kevin Holland a matter of seconds to silence this internet troll.
What? That same guy you're talking about. They did this trick. They asked you what you want to do in high school, ladies and gentlemen. Tell them you want to wrestle. Just in case you ever get a dickhead like Kevin Holland.
And with his tweet saying one troll down, way too many more to go, it opened the floodgates for people looking to try themselves against Kevin. Just a month later, another video surfaced of Kevin Holland body kicking an internet troll to oblivion. Thankfully, this guy was a little more respectful than the previous one, and that no one seriously got hurt. If there's one group of people with overinflated egos of their fighting abilities, it's definitely Navy SEALs.
Best advice for you, Sean, is to stay in the octagon, keep fighting for that next purse. And us SEALs, we'll keep fighting for your freedom, brother.
Sure, they're trained in military operations, able to use all kinds of weapons, and are in incredible athletic condition. But in a straight-up fist fight, they're nowhere near the level of UFC fighters.
You take a skilled UFC fighter, and it doesn't matter that you were a quote-unquote, you know, Navy SEAL or Special Operations guy. That's just not going to happen.
But whether it's their alpha mindset, combat-hardened skills, or a bit of toxic masculinity, SEALs seem to get into altercations with UFC fighters all too often. And surprise, surprise, they get a rude awakening every single time. So these are the times that Navy SEALs tried to fight UFC fighters. If there was one UFC fighter to not try and out-alpha, Sean Strickland may be top of that list. It doesn't matter if you're an untrained streamer, an internet personality, or in this case, a Navy SEAL, Strickland will not go lightly if you step in a cage with him.
Sean Strickland's a different animal. Sean Strickland has, you know, he's got this fucking man code, and he believes in it. Like, you got to get your ass kicked every now and then. He spars all the time, spars constantly. And if you agree to get in there with him, you're essentially agreeing to let him beat the fuck out of you, because you don't really have a chance.
The situation started when Strickland put out a message saying that no Navy SEAL in the world could survive a week training with him.
I don't think there's one Navy SEAL who could survive a week training with me. I'm kind of sick of seeing it, because, like, you guys think you're badass, come train with me for a week. I'll show you what's up. I'll break you.
Considering a major part of any SEAL's career is gritting their way through the initial training course, being told they couldn't just do a single week of MMA training wasn't going to go down well, and it's safe to say it annoyed a bunch of Navy SEAls.
Sean, you talk about taking people's souls from their body. Well, me and my boys, we've actually taken a lot of real souls from people. You know what I'm saying, bro?
The weakest SEAL that has ever been created would destroy you in a street fight, as I would. There are no rules. We are fighting for our life. Every single time you went for an armbar or a choke or something like that, I would chew your face off. Those ugly ears sitting on the side of your head, I would rip off.
This was during an era where people like David Goggins, a former SEAL, was training UFC fighters like Tony Ferguson and even becoming his cornerman. But while many of the SEALs were just talk, one took Strickland up on his offer and rocked up to their gym. And it turns out this Navy SEAL was actually an MMA fighter as well, with an 11-1 amateur record and a 2-1 pro record.
So is my boy Mitch. I've known him for a minute. Solid dude. How many fights have you had?
Like 17, 18, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, you guys had a lot of fights. So I don't know if it's fair to say you're a Navy SEAL, but is it fair to say, I mean, you're also a professional fighter?
Yeah.
And there's not many Navy SEALs who are professional fighters, so.
But even with this kind of experience, he knew there was a huge gulf in class between the two when it came to fighting.
I've always respected Sean, you know, from training with him in the past, his mentality towards fighting, and I thought it would be awesome to come out here and jump on the opportunity to get some rounds in with him. He's the people's champ. It's awesome. Sean, we don't have any wagers.
And unlike our next story, thankfully Mitch came in very respectful of Strickland, who in turn somewhat looked after the Navy SEAL.
I don't want to knock you out. I want to make you quit.
Strickland just ended up playing with the Navy SEAL, digging body shots rather than trying to knock him out. He wanted to make Mitch quit to prove a message.
You know you're gonna quit, Mitch. Come on!
But no one's ever questioned the toughness of Navy SEALs, so unsurprisingly, Mitch survived the full 25 minutes just about. Although don't get it twisted, Sean Strickland could have finished him at any point he wanted.
Navy SEAL training, what, a year, 2 years? If I were to take an 18-year-old, 19-year-old kid, and I said, hey, I'm gonna train you for 1 year, 2 years, just 1 year, 2 years, and then you're gonna go fight in the UFC at the top level, even at the lowest level, you would get utterly destroyed.
But unlike Strickland taking it easy on the Navy SEAL, in this next story, the UFC fighter didn't hold back one bit. Where Sean Strickland is the loud, cocky, and in-your-face type of guy, one UFC fighter who is the complete opposite is Carlos Condit. The former UFC interim champion is much more reserved, never the center of attention, and doesn't talk a big game. But make no mistake, he's called the natural-born killer for a reason. And back in 2008, the UFC invited Condit and a handful of other UFC fighters to a US military base in Afghanistan. The goal was for them to boost morale, have some fun, and teach the troops a trick or two in hand-to-hand combat.
When I get back, I have about 5 weeks to train, so I'm gonna try to stay in shape here. I heard there's hills to run up here in Afghanistan, so I'll be doing some sprints and maybe doing a little bit of rolling with these guys if I can.
So which one of y'all lovely soldiers gonna take them down tonight?
I'll take them on. I don't know if I'll take them down, but I'll take them on.
But after some rolling and drilling, they decided to have a little spar in front of everyone, and one Navy SEAL made the mistake of asking Carlos Condit.
And then this guy says to Carlos Condit, another one of the Special Forces guys, he says to Carlos Condit, do you want to spar? And Carlos goes, yeah, sure. All right, no problem. And by the way, they call him the natural born killer. That guy is cool as fuck. Never raises his voice. He's just super mellow. He's like, yeah, sure. I'll spar, no problem.
At the time, Condit was the WEC welterweight champion, had a 22-4 record, with every win coming by finish and 19 of them in the first round. He might have looked less intimidating than Michael Bisping or BJ Penn, and maybe that's what this guy thought. Because we all know Army guys consider themselves as the toughest out there.
I don't walk in the room and do like an eye test of being like, right, I can take all of you. Like, my mind just doesn't work that way. My mind just doesn't work that way. Like, it just doesn't.
It's so funny. I know a lot of like Army, like military guys who do think like that.
Yeah. The Navy SEAL then asked Carlos how hard they were going to spar, and the pro fighter had a calm response. It put the ball in the Navy SEAL's court immediately. He could go light and just play around, or if he wanted a bit of a scrap, Condit was more than willing. And usually with a so-called friendly spar like this, they'd both start out slow and maybe pick up the intensity. But the Navy SEAL went from 0 to 100. Whether it was adrenaline, trying to look tough in front of his comrades, or thinking he could score a cheap shot knockout on a pro MMA fighter, he cracked Condit with the very first punch. You could hear the Army guys in the room reacting, knowing that this wasn't going to be a playful spar. Condit took a second, shook off any cobwebs, and stayed true to his word that he'll hit the Navy SEAL as hard as he gets hit. Just shows that in a true fight, a UFC fighter will blitz through a Navy SEAL with no resistance at all. And while Condit was his cool, calm, and collected self after knocking out a SEAL, Bisping thought things could get ugly.
Knocks the f***ing Special Forces dude unconscious. and everyone's looking around in the room, everyone's like, holy shit, and I'm like, oh, Carlos, I'm not sure that was the smartest thing to do for f***ing sake. I don't want to die up here. But fair play to Carlos Condit. And my point of the story is, ever since I saw that, I was like, he's a bad motherfucker, man. He's a great guy.
Thankfully, the rest of the US troops knew the Navy SEAL was the one who turned it into an actual fight and didn't hold any animosity. In the end, Condit thanked everyone for their time, gave his respect for their service, and the UFC fighters got out unscathed. But this next story was anything but respectful, and it ended up with not one, not two, but 3 Navy SEALs unconscious after a bar fight with a former UFC heavyweight champion. If there was a bar fighting ultimate championship, I think Bas Rutten would have been the greatest of all time.
And he was just blasting people with kicks, fucking people's legs up.
Yeah.
He was fucking people up, man.
He used to make street fighting DVDs, has a street fighting section in his Wikipedia page, and was one of the best strikers in the early days of MMA. Something 3 unfortunate Navy SEALs found out the hard way in a bar in Tokyo back in the 90s when Bas Rutten was the man. It started when the 3 guys were using their size to intimidate the local Japanese people.
Claiming that they were Navy SEAls. They had Navy SEAls tattooed on their bodies, but they were Navy SEAls, 100% guaranteed they're not, because I trained the SEAls and they're not guys like that, trust me. So, and they came in, and what happened was I was standing and I see these, there's a long, it's called Motown, is the bar it's called in Roppongi in Tokyo. And there's a long bar. And I see so many people flying left and right. They go, what's going on? And I'm looking, and these 3 guys came and they pushed all these little Japanese people to the side.
Then they made a critical error, putting their hands on Bas and pushing him out of the way like he was no one. It's the ultimate disrespect.
And sure enough, I'm standing in the middle. I'm just looking away. I didn't want to look at them. And sure enough, they pushed me as well. I say, hey guys, come on, man. What are you guys doing? And right away, they surrounded me. And you want to go, man? You want to go? You want to go? Bring it outside?
Not that Rutten would have needed any backup, but he wasn't alone either. With him was UFC tournament winner and former Pancrase champion Guy Mezger, former UFC, WEC, and Strikeforce champion Frank Shamrock, and a bunch of other fighters. And Mezger at least had the decency to warn the Navy SEALs of the huge mistake they were making.
He says, we're all professional fighters. Oh, I don't give a crap. I don't give a crap. He says, yeah, I know. I understand that. But from all of us, that's the worst guy to pick a fight with. You shouldn't do this right now. And the guy goes, oh, so you want to go outside? I said, cool. Who do you want to fight? I said, I'll fight all 3 of you.
Back in the 90s, MMA in the UFC was not popular whatsoever. Nowadays, if a bunch of huge 6'+ guys with cauliflower ears told you they were pro fighters, you'd believe them. But 30 years ago, this was a different story. The Navy SEALs would have 100% believed they were the toughest guys around and no one could lay a finger on them. So when Bas Rutten happily agreed to fight all 3 of them solo, they must have thought it would be the easiest fight of their lives. But they had absolutely zero idea they were about to throw hands with one of the most dangerous men on the planet at that time. And despite having the numbers on their side, they were instantly outmatched.
We're walking outside, 2 of them got dropped instantly. I go bonk bonk.
Now one-on-one, Bas Rutten decided to have some fun.
I told the guys, I say, you know what? I'm not going to knock him out. I'm going to submit him. You know, I didn't want to do favors. So I remember I got him in an armbar first. He taps, he says he wants to quit. I let him go, and right away he attacks me again.
Oh no.
I roll right away into a knee bar. I say, is it over now? And I'm really hyperextending his leg a little bit because I want to make sure that he would stop. And he said, no, there's nothing, please stop. I said, okay, so I let him go, and again he attacks me.
After treating the Navy SEAL like a white belt training partner, he decided enough was enough and choked him unconscious. But he had one final trick up his sleeve, a way to humiliate the guy and mess with his ego.
And then everybody goes, Bas, just choke him out. I go, okay. And so I choke him out, we laid him on the ground. I believe we pulled his pants down and we were just waiting for him to wake up. That's what I believe we did at the time. And of course he got very embarrassed when he woke up.
I hope from that day onwards, those 3 guys never tried to bully random people ever again. And speaking of US Army guys getting submitted, here's Paddy Pimblett running the gauntlet and rolling with 10 Marines back to back. It started when Paddy went out to San Diego to a Marine Corps base camp to train with a bunch of the US Army. Before the martial arts challenge began, Paddy was put through his paces with a serious fitness test.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Paddy had no idea
that we'd be putting him through this gnarly of a workout.
What were you expecting today?
I can always grapple, lad. It's just like this here. I've done weights yesterday, went for a run and sparred twice this week. It's gonna be good.
And we know that out of camp, Paddy isn't always the consummate professional and sometimes gets a little out of shape. So it's safe to say Pimblett was pretty tired by the end of the fitness drills. But then it was his turn and the focus was on jiu-jitsu training. Initially, Paddy was just teaching the army guys a thing or two.
I'll control his wrist and grabs the back of his elbow. This other leg goes into his armpit. Bring me left leg in front of his face, lift up, and that goes on. So everyone partner up, try and get someone a similar size. Don't really want to be grappling with someone who's like 20 kilo heavier than you. If your arms are bent, he can pull your head down, but as soon as you straighten your arms, you can't do it. You're pushing yourself away from him, get tight to him again. Push his wrist tight to his back, towards the back of his head.
And after a little bit of training, some of the guys had a challenge for Paddy.
We don't have to do loads of rounds, like, but we've got to do 5-minute ones, lad. You know what I mean?
So every time Paddy taps someone out, someone new is gonna get in.
Oh, is that? We just want to do that? I don't mind doing that, me, like.
Do it.
So, just like that, with no warning, Pimblett agreed to a gauntlet-style challenge against many Marines. Bear in mind, this is after a week of heavy training and a day of grueling fitness drills. But whether it was against bigger, stronger dudes or letting them start on top, Paddy submitted 10 guys back to back.
Stalemate. Reset.
Heavy rotation.
And after the challenge was complete, Paddy sat down to talk about mental health and answer questions the Marines had. If you're still here, first of all, thank you for watching this entire video. You guys have really enjoyed these Strangers vs UFC Fighter videos, and we've loved making them. So go hit subscribe to show us you want more just like this, and let us know in the comments what story was your favorite. For us, it has to be Boss Rutan hitting the Marine with 5 different submissions in a minute outside a bar. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video.